was making, but sadly I'm currently too blinded by greed and lust to care about or consider the consequences of my actions. The liaison I will be taking part in shortly with two poor deaf teenage runaways is in direct opposition to the values you elected me to uphold. I also wish to apologize to my wife, Linda, to my two beautiful children, Allison and Christopher. It hurts me more than you will ever know that this scandal will impact your life so terribly. I can only pray that the revelations you will soon hear concerning my fetishes, physical flexibility, and penis will not scar you to the point of dementia. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to get to the hotel immediately, so I will not be taking questions. Thank you.
This is the Onion News Network.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Talk radio you control. Call in at 603-283-6160. Talk about anything you would like. Tonight in the studio you have me, Lori.
Riley.
And Richie Rich.
You pointed at Riley
pointed
like
at
he was
him.
going to see you.
Because it's funnier that way.
Well, it is funnier that way. But I completely spaced that I was the next person in line because normally I'm sitting where Richie Rich is sitting. So I forgot that it was here.
I think that's because you're usually on with me, and I'm like a seat 2 hog. I like that seat. So every time I'm not in this seat, I'm in that one.
I'll do better next time.
We'll see about that.
Yeah.
But we're going to do a show, I think.
I think so.
Maybe.
We'll
see
do
how
the
it
best
goes.
we can.
Yeah. So tonight, we have some things to talk about, like very important Supreme Court ruling.
Nacho Supreme Court rulings.
Or burrito Supreme Court ruling. That sounds
extremely
yummy.
valid thing to have brought to the Supreme Court. Richie and Riley both brought it in.
So you know it's important.
Absolutely. The most important story in America right now.
Breaking news.
Right now. This is the most important story. You thought Trump and Kamala was important? This is the most important story on radio right now.
Wait, who are Trump and Kamala?
I think they're... I don't know. I hear their names a lot, but...
Okay.
Pokemon?
Pokemon? Yeah.
They're supposed to be really important. Are they Pokemon?
I think so.
They will be soon.
Yeah, that makes sense.
DLC.
Yeah.
So if you would like to read it, Richie.
Way to go. I prompted her. I said, have Riley read it because that's also funny. And
I mean, I could try reading it. I do have a device that...
I told you he has one.
I know. But again, no.
I didn't bring you with me
The
today.
joke has passed. This is from SFGate. Chicken wings advertised as boneless can have bones. So says the Ohio Supreme Court.
Really? So a group of strangers can say, oh, well, boneless wings can have bones, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, the Ohio Supreme Court had said so, and it's not the first, food ruling where the government decides.
Yeah.
Right?
Doesn't that seem like false advertising, though?
Yes, and a lot of times it's the other way, right? So if you notice, the ice cream section of the grocery store has a lot of frozen desserts now because they're not legally allowed to call it ice cream.
Right.
Because it doesn't contain the government level of cream to be designated as ice cream.
Right.
So it's a treat or frozen dessert.
Frozen dairy product, whatever.
Right. And I was talking to a buddy of mine yesterday about this. And he's like, he worked at, Taco Bell as a teenager and, before he went on to bigger and better things. And he's like, at one point.
Del Taco?
What's that?
Del Taco?
Oh, yeah. But at one time, Taco Bell advertised their beef taco. It's like, oh, look at all that beef. And then the feds came down and said, well, it's got to contain a certain amount of beef in that, pink slime for you to call it beef. And Taco Bell didn't have the requisite amount of beef. So then all of a sudden the taco wasn't a beef taco, it was beefy.
Beefy.
Interesting.
Beef-ish taco. So you never know, right? Like the government decides what you can call things and then people fall in line.
Yep.
Consumers cannot expect boneless chicken wings to actually be free of bones. A divided Ohio Supreme Court ruled Thursday. At least it was divided.
Yeah.
Right. Someone was like, well, I mean, it's going to be boneless. You can't put bones in there.
Right there in the name.
It's right there in the name.
And everybody was like, no.
You know what they're going to do? It's going to be, when they advertise it, it's going to be like boneless in quotes. Right? Yeah. It's like boneless, air quotes, boneless wings.
Well, apparently they don't even have to do that. They could just say boneless wings and then hand you a whole entire chicken.
In Ohio, yes. Yeah. But this isn't a wing. They gave me a breast.
There's wings there.
There's wings there. Rejecting claims by a restaurant patron who suffered serious medical complications from getting a bone stuck in his throat.
Oh, wow.
How fast are you eating your wings?
Yeah, I have to wonder that because
stuck in your throat.
For me,
if you're eating nuggets, you don't expect it.
Do you not chew? You just like a snake unhinge your jaw and then
some people
put it in
may,
and swallow? That seems wrong.
Yeah, that seems wrong. So I was at a local meetup today here in Keene, New Hampshire, a social Sunday meetup at Yasso Jamaican Grill, and I had some boneless wings there. I didn't feel a bone in the wings because I'm careful when I chew the wings.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how this guy got a bone stuck in his throat.
Yeah,
or how big the bone was.
Right.
I mean, still, you should be chewing.
You should be. You should be very careful with your food.
Like
All right.
I've gotten a meatball one time with a tiny little bone chip in it.
I mean, people choke on bones all the time. Like
Don't eat bones.
He was trying not to. He ordered the boneless wings.
I guess that's
but
true.
Still, though,
I guess
you got to be careful when you eat.
Well, and some bones are, like especially fish. If you eat salmon and you don't, even if you debone it, right? Those things are skinny and small
pin bones.
and pin-like, right? And then all of a sudden you're not expecting it. You chew, but it passes through, passes through the chew filter, and all of a sudden turns sideways in your throat and stabs you.
You chew better.
Okay.
People are not chewing very well if they're getting bones down there.
I mean, the Heimlich maneuver exists for a reason.
I don't know if it would work for a bone because they're kind of like sharp and they lodge themselves in there.
Okay. We got to do something to get it out.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Surgery, maybe?
You
got to get to the hospital for that.
You got to do like the emergency tracheotomy thing where you get a pen and you take out the inside and you jam it through.
Who'd want to do that though? That's something I would never. I mean, yeah, you do it, but I am not confident enough in my abilities to do something like that.
Well, I mean,
I don't think anyone's expecting you to do it. Oh. That's his eye.
I mean, I know where the throat is, dude. I can feel that at least.
Yeah, but then you raise up to do the stab thing, and you're like, how good's your aim coming back down?
Yeah, and he's choking and panicking. He might move.
Yeah.
Good point. Good point.
Michael Bergheimer was dining with his wife and friends at a wing joint in Hamilton, Ohio, and had ordered the usual boneless wings with Parmesan garlic sauce when he felt a bite-sized piece of meat go down the wrong way. 3 days later, feverish and unable to keep food down, Berkmeyer went to the emergency room where a doctor discovered a long, thin bone had torn his esophagus and caused an infection.
Ooh.
Berkheimer sued the restaurant, Wings on Brookwood, okay, so they do name it, saying the restaurant failed to warn him that so-called boneless wings, which of course are nuggets of boneless, skinless breast meat, could contain bones.
If it's breast meat, how does it have a bone?
I don't know.
Chicken breasts don't have bones in them.
Okay.
I think they have small bones somewhere, don't they?
On the rib cage, but that's not like, that's below where the breast meat is.
Well, again, you expect this to be breast meat, right? Mm-hmm. But they mash it, they form it.
Well, yeah, okay. So
it's they shape it like something else.
So he actually got chicken nuggets.
I mean,
sauce on top.
There's a contingent of people, like true wing aficionados that won't consider boneless wings to be wings.
Well, it's not a wing if it comes from the breast, because the breast is not a wing.
I got it. And you sue and take that to the Ohio Supreme Court as well.
I won't.
It's not even a wing, bro. You're ordering nuggets. So you're not a wing guy. You order boneless wings. You're not a wing guy.
Maybe that's why they decided that it was fine, because the whole thing's a lie. It's all a sham. It's not even a wing. Call it whatever you want.
I'm a big fan of the McRib when McDonald's brings it back. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it's seasonal and not always seasonal in my area.
Which is weird, because what is McRib season?
Whenever McDonald's brings it back.
Yeah, it's just weird. They call
whenever they get the cost
seasonal.
on price, the cost of pork goes to a certain level, they order a bunch of pork and make these McRibs.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had the McRib. What's it like?
Oh, it's the best sandwich you're ever going to eat at McDonald's.
Okay.
It's like a Salisbury steak covered with barbecue sauce.
So occasionally, right, you get the hankering for the McRib because it's not in season, and McDonald's around here doesn't even participate in most of the seasons. And then you can find these things sort of like the cheap knockoff version in the frozen food and the TV dinner section of your local grocery store, right? And it's and it looks like the McRib, but not the sandwich, right? I think there's one company that does used to sell them at the gas station. So I guess someone does make a McRib-ish sandwich that's frozen. But if you look at the package, right, it's like ribbed shape pork patty or something. So it's not even a rib. It's not even a McRib, right? It's just ground up pork product shaped to look like a rib.
So it's like a flattened hot dog.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
But with slathered in barbecue sauce and onions, and the best thing you're ever going to order from McDonald's.
I don't think I've ever had one.
You're missing out.
Maybe.
Like when they do have them in season here, I will go multiple times and I will eat like 3 at a time.
Wow.
I'm fat and I'm working on it now.
Right now.
Until McRib season.
But until McRib season. And that'll be a cheat day.
Yeah.
Like once a week, we're going to go get some McRibs. Sorry, the ad popped up.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, there's another ad popping up.
The internet
The
today,
silly
the
ad.
future.
Yeah.
It's the future. Like, internet on your phone is so barely usable now with all the pop-up ads and like clickbait and not even being directed to the right thing. It's awful.
Websites are really difficult to navigate with all the ads on them.
And it starts with the EU and their whole we got to check for cookies thing first.
Yep.
The suit also named the supplier and the farm that produced the chicken, claiming all were negligent. In a 4-3 ruling, the Supreme Court said Thursday that boneless wings refers to a cooking style and that Berkheimer should have been on guard against bones since it's common knowledge that chickens have bones. The high court sided with the lower courts that have dismissed Berkheimer's suit. So we're calling these nuggets, right? And chicken nuggets are presumably chicken parts of some kind, right? And those things are like frequently sold to children.
Yeah.
So are they saying if you go and buy your like dino nuggies from the grocery store, you have to check for bones before you feed them to your toddler?
No, you should be like, chew your food.
He did.
I don't think he chewed it very well.
Okay.
You would feel a bone.
Well, it was a small sliver of a bone, and it didn't get lodged in his throat, right? It cut his esophagus on the way down.
Life
That
saving.
sounds
Causing
even
an
more
effect.
painful than getting lodged in the throat. But then again, if something's lodged in your throat, you're going to still feel that burr or whatever inside your throat for a while.
It's crazy that he just felt it a little bit like, oh, it went down the wrong way, and then went about his life.
Yeah,
While he
and
had
then
a huge hole in his esophagus.
well, no, it cut it open, and then it got infected, and the infection is what caused him, the pain and the discomfort 3 days later.
You would think though that it would hurt continually if you cut your esophagus.
Okay,
I don't know.
it might have just felt like a sore throat until it got too bad.
Maybe.
Right? Like if he's a dude and not a real dude because he's ordering the boneless, but I don't mention every pain that I have to everyone on a regular basis.
Oh,
right?
It's only women that do that.
Apparently, I
Yeah.
I don't know what women do.
We're like, oh man, everything hurts.
It's achy.
Oh, I woke up. I slept wrong. Yep.
Yeah. No, I just, I occasionally have like foot pain from an accident, and my boss was like, "Do you want some like Tylenol or something?" I'm like, "No, it's just pain." Right? Like,
I know how you are with pain.
It's not going to go away. The pain might go away, but there's nothing that's going to fix it.
Yeah.
So as long as I can move with my cane or my crutches, I'm good.
It's weird that he sued the farmer. Like, why didn't you grow your chicken without bones?
Well, yeah, okay.
Because the farmer's not the one who made the nugget.
Okay.
True.
Well, the food processor.
Yeah,
right?
but it says he sued the farmer.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not agreeing with everything. I'm just
He probably. That's
you
a
sue
weird
the
thing
people
to
with
sue.
money.
Yeah. But
right?
what do you think you're going to sue the farmer for, though, in that situation? Because his chicken had bones in it, like chickens do?
He sold the boned chicken to the food processor that's not supposed to. If the food processor is only supposed to get the breast to make the nuggets, and he delivered chicken breast with bones in it, right? Then he delivered faulty product to the processor, who then mushed it down and sold it to the restaurant, who then breaded it and sold it to the customer.
I guess. I don't think farmers sell their meat like that, though. I think they just, like, sell a whole chicken.
Maybe.
I don't know that they sell breasts. Not to, like, any large processor. That'd be real time-intensive for the farmer,
Okay.
I guess. I don't know. I'm not a farmer, so maybe I'm wrong.
I know that after they butcher it, right, you can order parts, right? So I would assume chickens would be the same.
Yeah, it's a smaller animal, though, and, like, chickens are birds are hard to process. They're more difficult than a mammal because you got to, like, pluck them and all that stuff. They're already labor intensive. So I feel like if a processor, like a large processor, was going to buy chickens, they would buy the whole chickens because it would be more economical for them. Like, if I'm selling rabbit and I sell a rabbit that's whole prey for someone's dog, it's cheaper than if I sell you a rabbit that I have processed for human consumption because it's more labor intensive. So if a large processor is buying chickens for all of these nuggets that they're making.
What if the chick on Etsy just needs the rabbit foot, though?
Well, I don't know.
Right?
Buy a whole rabbit.
It's not, well,
I'm not making you a rabbit foot.
Okay. No, but you cut the rabbit feet off, you sell it to the people on Etsy, and you process the meat out to the people who make rabbit patties.
I guess. It just seems like it wouldn't be economically feasible for a large processor of chicken nuggets to just buy the breasts.
Okay. Also, and again,
But I don't know.
to his credit, you sue as many people as you can who have the money,
Yeah.
right?
I don't know. I've never sued anyone. But
Well,
that makes sense
There's some advice for you then. Do with what you will.
for
If
when I do.
If you sue someone without money, you get nothing.
Yeah.
If you sue someone with money, you may get something.
It tracks.
The high court sided with the lower court that had dismissed Berkheimer's suit. A diner reading boneless wings on a menu would no more believe that the restaurant was warranting the absence of bones in the items than believe that the items were made from chicken wings, just as a person eating chicken fingers would know that they had not been served fingers. Justice
not
Joseph
the
D. Teeters wrote for the
same.
majority.
That's not the same thing.
Okay.
That's not at all. That's like saying if I serve you gluten-free bread, you have to assume there's just gluten in it. If
Yeah.
I say there's boneless wings, I'm going to assume there's no bones in it.
I think
But that's not
everybody
the
would
same
assume
thing.
that.
Nobody's going to assume that it's chicken fingers because that's not a thing.
Well, does bread normally come with gluten, and does it have to be removed?
I think they make it out of different flour.
Okay.
Like rice flour or something like that.
All right. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't eat gluten-free.
Yeah, bread has gluten. That's the protein structure of the wheat.
Okay.
So,
So if you're buying bread, you should assume that there's gluten in there.
but if it's gluten-free bread,
Well,
you would assume there's
but
no
bread has
gluten.
gluten.
But if it's okay, yeah. But
Take
if
this up with the Ohio Supreme Court.
gluten-free-
I brought this in because it's dumb.
I'm going to
I
the
agree.
Supreme Court right now.
Oh, hell's not that far away. Go knock on their door.
I thought you said, "Oh hell," not Ohio. Oh hell's
Same
not
place.
that far away.
If you're on the Ohio Supreme Court, give us a call. Defend this nonsense.
Yeah. If you live in Ohio, defend this nonsense.
Nah, you don't want to put it on the people.
Oh,
They're victims of their government.
you make a good point. You make a good point.
The dissenting justices called Dieter's reasoning utter jabberwocky.
That's not using that word right either.
You know, okay, go on.
Jabberwocky is the monster from Through the Looking Glass,
Okay.
like the dragon thing or whatever
All right.
it was. The Jabberwocky.
Utter snozberries.
Yeah.
And said a jury should have been allowed to decide whether a restaurant was negligent in serving Berkheimer a piece of chicken that was advertised as boneless. The question must be asked, does anyone really believe that the parents in this country does anyone believe that the parents in this country who feed their young children boneless wings or chicken tenders or chicken nuggets or chicken fingers expect bones to be in the chicken? Of course they don't. Justice Michael P. Donnelly wrote in dissent, when they read the word boneless, they think that it means without bones, as do all sensible people.
It's true. But
I agree.
also, like, just chew your food. And if you're not prepared to risk yourself by eating something that was processed by someone who wasn't you than cook your own food. Like, that's the risk you're taking. If you're going out to eat, you might get food poisoning. Like, they're not advertising food poisoning free food. Like, there are a lot of things could happen in the world.
People will sue for food poisoning.
That's silly.
You've been poisoned.
Here's the question I want to ask. How much bone is going to be permissible in boneless wings?
The government's going to decide.
How
That's
are they
where
going to
this
decide,
leads.
though? What is going to be their criteria? How are they going to decide? Are they going to?
It'll be arbitrary, and then that's the new definition,
So
much
this
like
is-
the cream and ice cream
This is
mentioned
just the
earlier.
silliness of a group of strangers calling themselves government, telling you what your food should be like.
They do give ratios for things like there's a certain amount of bugs that's allowed to be in your food and rat hair and
Whatever it is.
yeah.
Does anyone
Yeah.
think this institution is still useful?
Well, no.
Well, lots of
and-
people do.
Well, yeah, but not here.
No, not here.
But
Not in this room, at least.
if not them, then who? Because it's not like everyone's going to automatically go to local farmers, right? There's going to have to be a watchdog agency of some kind, Consumer Reports or Underwriters Laboratory or any other example you can think of, that then will have to exist to test these things, right? Well, we've tested, hundreds of thousands of pounds of boneless wings, and we found that 2% of them contain bones. And so 2% is now the margin of error. You're allowed to have 2% bones in your boneless wings, and beyond that, you get a failed rating from Consumer Reports or whatever agency it happens to be. Like right now it's the government doing it, but it's, people rely on those things because at least there's a definition out there.
Yeah.
Right? Your ice cream treat, it doesn't have cream in it because it doesn't say ice cream on the package anymore. It's just frozen dessert. Right? And they're making a big thing about, almond milk, right? Or soy milk. Or you can't call it milk.
Yeah, you got to call it nut juice.
It wasn't milked from anything. Yeah. But it's a marketing thing, right? So it's a substitute for milk. No one really believes it's milk.
Yeah, nobody thinks that someone milked an almond.
I just wish we could figure all these things out without the agency calling itself government, this gang of thugs telling us what food should be, because we're human. We got to figure this out and agree on something, at least, without a government telling us what to believe.
Well,
Sure.
There's a lot of reasons that doesn't happen. One, corporations want to make profits, and so a lot of the times they'll take shortcuts and send out shoddy products and make that profit. Then they'll close down the business and then open a new business with a different name or stuff like that.
But the only reason they can do that is because corporation is a government construct.
Yes.
Right.
Well, and also people have been infantilized to the point that they don't feel okay with taking control of their own lives.
But if you buy a bag of chicken nuggies, for your kid, are you going to call the company and go like, "Hey, I bought this batch number, right? What's the percentage of bones I can expect?" How many calls? No one's going to do that. How many calls are they going to field like that if you remove whatever agency currently existing to regulate those sorts of things? Not saying they should, right? But no one's going to do the work.
Somebody might. Some kind of company could step in and take their place.
They could.
603.
Then you're trusting them.
Yeah. 603-283-6160. Call in. Join the conversation.
Fact. The new NSA data center in Utah requires 1.7 million gallons of water every single day to operate. Billions of Fourth Amendment violations need massive computers and the water to cool them. That water is being supplied by the state of Utah. Fact. There's absolutely nothing in the Constitution which requires your state to help the feds violate your rights. Our message to Utah: turn it off. No water equals no NSA data center. Visit offnow.org.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. The United States says Hezbollah is behind Saturday's rocket attack in the Golan Heights, which killed at least 12 people, most of them children. It's feared this incident could be the tipping point for tensions between the Lebanese militant group and its neighbor Israel. The White House's National Security Council spokesperson Adrienne Watson said Saturday's, quote, horrific attack in Majd al-Shams that killed a number of children playing soccer was conducted by Lebanese Hezbollah and it should be universally condemned. Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran, has been attacking Israel since October in a show of support for Hamas, but it has denied responsibility for this latest strike. Israel said it conducted counterstrikes on Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. The US is working with Israel in Lebanon to find a diplomatic solution to avoid further escalation and, in turn, a wider regional conflict. US Transport Secretary Pete Buttigieg says voters are concerned about former President Donald Trump's age and well-being as he's now facing a much younger opponent in the November election. In an interview with Fox News Sunday, Buttigieg argued that Americans are worried about Trump's mental acuity at the age of 78.
I'm pretty sure voters are worried about the age and acuity of President Trump compared to Kamala Harris, who represents being a generation younger.
He said Trump is, quote, older and stranger than he was when he began his political career, and accused Trump of, quote, rambling at recent rallies on the campaign trail.
And how could anybody not watch the stuff he's saying, the rambling on the trail, and not be just a little bit concerned?
Pete Buttigieg is considered to be a potential running mate for Kamala Harris. Iowa's law banning most abortions after 6 weeks goes into effect on Monday. Scott Carr has more.
The law is now scheduled to go into effect Monday following the denial of Planned Parenthood's request for a rehearing in court. The legislation, known as the Heartbeat Law, bans any abortion after cardiac activity is detected. It does contain exceptions for cases of rape, incest, or to save the life of the mother. Initially passed last year, the law has faced legal challenges but will now be enforced in Iowa. I'm Scott Carr.
Nigeria is tightening security at its borders ahead of a planned protest against hardship and bad governance by young people across the country. Tessa Makende reports.
The country's immigration service made the position in a statement. This is coming after police in the country raised their alarm that organizers of the protest are planning to bring in foreign mercenaries to join in the protest scheduled to commence on Thursday, August 1st. Spokesperson of Nigeria's immigration service, Kenneth Udo, said security personnel have been directed to step up surveillance and prevent such people from coming into the country during the period.
And that is the latest.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. Talk radio you control. Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash Digital Cash. In addition to being one of the world's first cryptocurrencies, Dash was the first crypto project with a decentralized autonomous organization that to this day continues to improve and promote Dash. Thanks to the Dash DAO for sending us 32 Dash per month for this sponsorship. It's easy to get and use Dash. You can learn more at dash.org. That's dash.org. Tonight you have me, Lori.
Riley.
Good job, Riley. And Richie Rich.
Thank you.
So I have this story that is kind of terrifying in a dystopian future kind of way.
Oh, so the current future.
Yeah, but
Okay.
like, it
Or
is
the
the
now.
current future because it's
As you
now.
wanna call it.
This is a reality. We actually saw a Cybertruck on the way here today, and Stu was like, "What is that?" And I was
Oh,
like,
man.
I was like, "It's a Cybertruck, isn't it ugly?"
I saw one in the wild in Manchester a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, first time for me too.
I
in
wonder
the
if
wild.
it's the same guy. How many Cybertrucks are there in New Hampshire? Really?
I mean, if you
Probably not that many.
Okay.
It was probably the same guy. Maybe he's following you.
No, because he turned in front of me.
But they look like 2D graphics from like, the original PlayStation. Like, remember Tomb Raider with Lara Croft's pointy boobs?
Yep.
That's the car equivalent of that.
Yep.
They're so terrible. And I saw a story about how someone almost got their fingers chopped off because when you try to open the back door while closing the front door, it can like eat your hand between the doors.
Oh, wow.
Well, there was a dude. I don't know if it was the door, if it was the same test, but he did like the closing of the hatch in the back, and he was told by Tesla that, bro, you did the test wrong. Like you're doing it wrong.
What do you mean? I'm closing it.
Right. So even the back latch had an algorithm that put more pressure at more failures. So if there was like a backpack in the way, it went doop, and then didn't close it, and he tried it again and went doop, and it would try to put more pressure on the backpack just to like smash the backpack down and close. So he's like, okay, I'm trying this with a carrot, and I'm trying this with a celery stick, and I'm gonna try it with my finger. And like the third time he put his finger in there, which had like the most pressure because of the algorithm, like, no, dude, you got to do the finger test first, bro.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you're totally screwing up our marketing. You're like, it's the algorithm,
Yeah.
So could be the same with the front door, back door. It's just the algorithm. Like,
yeah, and I hear that
don't put your finger in for third. You got to put your finger in first.
I wouldn't put my finger in any trunk that's trying to close ever, because that's a bad idea. But I mean, yeah.
As a test, yes, but you also have children.
Yeah,
and children are like known to smash their hands in car doors, even before they closed automatically.
Yeah, like it's maybe for fun for them, because it seems like so many kids do it.
Yes.
Also, they just like brick themselves. Apparently, they'll just stop working.
That's also a Tesla thing.
Well, they're pretty much a computerized truck, aren't they?
Yeah, they're a computerized truck.
Yeah, makes sense.
They're really, really ugly.
But like all vehicles on the road today are computerized in some form or fashion.
True.
Right.
And anything that wasn't got crushed with the Cash for Clunkers program.
Right.
That is one conspiracy that I will, subscribe to all the way. Cash for Clunkers was a psyop to get rid of non-computerized vehicles.
Yeah, I'm not happy about the computerized, like heavily computer. Like we have an old truck and it has a computer in it, but it's not computerized like cars are now. And I don't like it, because when we have to buy a new car, eventually we're going to have to get one of these cars that saves all the data about everything you do and is like, basically.
But Lori, that would be so
car,
helpful, so the police can look up where a criminal is going. We have to prevent criminal activity, don't you know, Lori?
No, we don't.
But Lori, that's the police's job. They need to prevent crime.
It's the police's job. It is not my job.
Oh.
Yeah, they just call the manufacturer and go like, hey, we've got VIN number, whatever, off the license plate. Can you turn this car off? And boom, it stopped.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it's not the citizen's job to do the police work for them by having all of these things.
Or the CIA hacks
or to make it easy.
Brakes don't work.
Right. Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird to step on the brake and be like, oh, it's just a computer signal.
Yep.
Going to the computer to tell the brakes to work.
Yeah, and computers are notorious for, getting spyware,
crashing,
like hacked or
failing.
Yeah, failing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like my bicycle when you squeeze the brake handle, like the wire goes all the way to the brakes and compresses it.
Yeah, nothing's going to like accidentally be interpreted by a computer system on your bike.
I mean, the wire might break. You got to do maintenance on that thing and make sure, the brake pads are still good and replace those every once in a while. But you got to do that on a car too anyway.
Yeah. It's hard. You can't do the computer stuff, though.
I know.
Like the normal person can't do it.
That's why labor's so expensive to repair a car now, too.
Inventing jobs or creating jobs or whatever. So this is an article from tomshardware.com.
Reputable news source.
Yes, of course. I knew you were going to say it.
I've actually heard of Tom's Hardware, though, so that's a good source.
Dog-like robot jams home networks and disables devices during police raids. DHS develops NEO robot for walking denial of service tax.
Wow.
Yeah.
The world we live in.
The Department of Homeland Security has announced that it has developed a four-legged robot designed to jam the wireless transmissions of smart home devices. The robot was revealed at the 2024 Border Security Expo, that's such a weird sentence.
Yeah, a border security expo.
Yeah, it's an expo for border security. Like, that's dystopian in itself.
So it's basically contractors or government contractors being sold goods for themselves, essentially.
Well, to secure the borders. Got to keep out those dirty Mexicans.
That's right. They're just like you and I, except for they live over an imaginary line. But,
Yeah. They speak a different language,
it's dangerous on the other side of that line.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
It's the language barrier.
Bad people live on the other side of that line, Lori.
The language barrier thing.
No one complains about Canadians. Same language.
So many other countries, the citizens speak multiple languages. It's only here in the United States that most people only speak one language.
They speak English in Britain, though.
Yeah.
Just English.
I mean, kinda.
Okay.
They speak like, you know.
I mean, the United States is a pretty big country.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is.
Number one. And being that size and having that much domination, like, do I really need to learn French? Like, no. Because French is like so small comparatively that the likelihood of me going to France or needing to learn French versus them needing to learn English to deal with Americans.
Yeah.
We've got the dominant language.
It's true, yeah.
Thank you, England.
Because we're like a world power or whatever. But
Well, and thank you, England, for having the British Empire that taught everyone English for centuries.
my point was like people who say, oh, these people, they don't even speak English. How are they going to, you know, come here and they can't speak the language? Like a lot of them do speak English.
Yeah.
Tons of them.
Well, and who cares if whether or not they do or don't?
Who cares? I know a lot of American people who don't speak English very well. So it is built using the quadruped unmanned ground vehicle and looks a lot like the Boston Dynamics Spot robot.
Ooh.
According to the transcript of the speech by DHS Federal Law Enforcement Training Center's Director Benjamin, with an E at the end, Huffman, acquired by 404 Media, NEO is equipped with an antenna array that is designed to overload home networks, thus disrupting devices that rely on Wi-Fi and other wireless communication protocols.
So now they don't even have to turn off the body camera.
That's right. And you can't like live stream
The raid.
The raid because
Yeah.
you have no internet.
Yeah.
You know.
It's like they want to hide their actions from the public.
They do.
You don't say.
I mean, when this place was raided, I'm sure that when Chris or Think Penguin or Mr. Penguin was here trying to record, he was pushed out of the way because they didn't want him to see the raid. They didn't want him to see the good, upstanding government people doing the raid.
Yeah, they just put like a force field around themselves and moved him virtually. Take a step back. Take a step back. Keep going. Keep going.
That's what these
until
people
he was
do.
like down the street trying to like record everything.
That's how you know these people are so evil, is they want to cover up their work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they like to tell other people, like, if you have nothing to hide, then why do you care? But they
want to hide
themselves
everything.
obfuscate
Yeah.
everything they do.
It's because they're doing bad things
Yeah,
all the
it's
time.
true. They are doing bad things, and they don't want people to know about it. But you cannot hide that. Like,
They have a tool now. You're reading an article about how they're going to hide it.
yeah, how they're gonna to hide it in the moment. But I'm saying they can't hide all the bad things.
Okay.
Like Chris always kind of laughs because I always bring in my ACAB story of the week.
Nice.
And I think it's important to talk about because some people are like, oh, it's one bad apple. One bad apple spoils the bunch. But what they don't understand is this happens every single day, multiple times a day. So it's not one bad apple. It's a systemic problem.
Well, and
the
I
whole
also
apple tree is rotten.
You also said it. The one bad apple spoils the bunch.
But they never finish
That's
it.
the whole saying.
Yeah,
they
yeah,
never
but they-
finish it.
but they
You know,
never
it's
finish
one
it.
bad apple. Yes.
Right.
And that spoils the bunch.
Right.
You got to finish the thought.
I accidentally finished it because it only makes sense to, but
Yeah.
they don't finish it like
Right.
most people don't.
I did that when I was more consistently posting on social media. I have one quote unquote friend. I'll call him an acquaintance now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I haven't seen him in years. But he's like, he was a police detective. Like the only cop friend that I'd have, and it's because I met him outside of him being a cop. I'm like, all right, we'll try this.
Mm-hmm.
But he would always defend the cops, right? So I just every time I came across an article, I would just post on Facebook the bad cop, your ACAB of the week story.
Mm-hmm.
But I would put like just another isolated incident,
Yeah.
right? Every day, just another isolated. It doesn't matter because it's not in your area, but it's in someone's area on a regular basis,
Every day.
day in, day out, multiple places. Just another isolated incident.
There's no shortage. I could do literally a 3-hour show every single day of just stories of cops
Yeah.
abusing people.
Oh yeah,
Every day. It'd never run out of material.
Easy to do. It's easy to do.
My boss is also like a cop lover. He's like, well, if they just put their hands where the cops can see them, you don't get shot. He's white.
Mhm.
And of course he doesn't get shot.
Right.
Right.
I'm like, well, okay, let's see then. And I pulled up Reddit. I pulled up the subreddit Bad Cop No Donut because that's fun.
Mhm.
And I just read him the headlines until he walked away. Like, all right, point made. I'm going back to my hole.
Yeah, I have a friend.
These cop lovers need to realize that they might be a more privileged group of people because they don't get affected by the police. They just want them around to keep their neighborhood safe. Well, the police aren't keeping your neighborhood safe. You should be.
Yeah. And I'll accept it, right? There's white privilege there. When
Yeah.
I get pulled over by a cop, I'm generally not worried about being shot,
Yeah.
right? But I'm not a minority, and I don't look like one generally, right? But I respect that happens to them more frequently than it happens to me,
Yeah.
right? Like if I put my hands in my pocket, the cop will go like, hey, you might want to take your hands out of your pocket so I can see them, right? But I don't get drawn on just because I like fiddle with my keys a little bit,
Right.
right? That's a level of privilege that I'm perfectly well aware of and accepting of because I don't worry about getting shot.
Right.
The cop comes to the window and like, oh, my documents are in the glove compartment, right? I can reach over there and not worry about getting shot, generally.
I still in the back of my mind, anytime I have a police interaction, I might get shot.
Sure.
But generally, yeah, I agree with you. Like, I've been pulled over and I like make jokes and stuff because
you can.
Because I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine who was half black but looked black, like black-ish, like Louisiana black. And we got pulled over, and the cop was talking to me, and I was doing my normal shtick, and the officer on his side, right, said, "Take one move, and I'll take your head off." Like, all right, well, that's welcome to being black, even though you're half black.
Right.
I get it. I'm aware.
Yeah.
Just don't move. Keep your mouth shut. Don't move. Send him over to my side.
Which, it's one bad apple,
Spoils the bunch.
Yeah. Right. So a real problem with this too is that if something happens, like say you're getting raided, you can't call anyone. You can't let anyone know. Anyone else in the house also can't call anyone. Say you're living in an apartment complex, right?
Yep.
And they use this dog to raid you, and now all your neighbors, like in
Emergency
close
services down,
proximity, have no way to contact anyone. Your neighbor next door has a heart attack in that same moment. Bye. Like, there's no help for you now because they used their little dog.
Did the police even think about this?
And they don't care.
No, this is border
course
security.
not.
Yeah.
It will eventually make it to your police department.
Yeah, next week. They'll trade one of their tanks in for a robot dog.
Good reason to keep your landline.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
You gotta make that phone call.
It is a good reason to have a landline. I might finally get one.
Make sure it's copper and not through your cable company.
Can you still do that?
I don't know, but that's the one that matters.
I don't even know
If you're getting it through your cable company, it's like voice over IP. It's coming over the internet. If they shut it down, it's gone.
I don't even know if they still have copper landlines.
You better find a way to get one.
I don't think you can anymore.
Well, okay, maybe not here, but there was also a recent ruling in California where AT&T tried to stop serving people in rural areas over the copper, but they're the communicator of last resort or something to that effect. And the government said, no, you can't close down that business. We have to keep providing service to these people. Yep, got to keep providing service because that's the last line of communication was the two little copper wires that AT&T had connected.
Which is insane that the government can just be like, no, you have to keep your business open.
Yeah,
yes.
It is a little insane.
That's wild.
Also weird, right?
Yep.
But if you don't have copper and you want to get it, you better get it while they're still offering it somewhere.
Yeah.
And then don't lose it.
Yeah, I'd have to look. I literally don't think that it's available here. I think that you have to get
voice over IP?
Yeah.
Okay.
Through a cable company.
All right.
Aside from taking out smart devices, law enforcement can also use the robot to communicate with subjects in the target area and to provide remote eyes and ears on officers on the ground. Oh, 2 officers on the ground, sorry. NEO can enter potentially dangerous environment to provide video and audio feedback to the officers before entry and allow them to communicate with those in the environment. Can you imagine one of these robot dogs just strolling into the room you're in and giving you commands?
In a hostage situation?
That would be a little weird, yeah.
It'd be terrible. It would be so scary.
Scarier than a pit bull?
Scarier than a pit bull because a pit bull can't have a laser mounted on it.
All right. Well,
I mean, it could. Right. Pit bulls with freaking laser beams, but they don't,
It's not native to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
NEO carries an onboard computer and antenna array that will allow officers the ability to create a denial of service event to disable Internet of Things devices that could potentially cause harm while entry is made.
Oh, cause harm.
Cause harm.
My Alexa is going to go on the attack when they enter the
Alexa.
house.
Oh, that's great.
Or Ring cameras or Amazon cameras.
Well, that's going to cause harm to their reputation when you show it.
Your Samsung
But
refrigerator.
what danger are they in? Yeah, what danger are they in that my refrigerator knows how much milk I have left? We better turn that off. Uh-huh. Officer safety.
Mm-hmm. I saw a video today of an officer admitting that their safety is more important than citizens' rights, like their human rights.
Of course they'd say that.
No, that's well known.
Yeah, but they admitted it. They said it out loud.
Yeah, they've been saying it out loud. One of us is going to get home to their family. I'm like, well, all right. The obvious response to that is shoot first.
Oh, this was in court. They said it out loud in court.
All right.
Like on record, they said, my safety is more important than any citizen's rights.
Yeah. And if you're a citizen, you go like, well, my safety is more important than officer safety.
Right.
You have to act first.
Yeah. The roaming robotic jammer was first contemplated after a child sexual abuse suspect used his doorbell camera to see FBI agents at his door serving a search warrant. The gunman opened fire on them from behind the closed door with an assault-style rifle, killing 2 veteran agents and injuring 3 more.
That's probably why they want this. This is probably why they want these devices, so that they can stop people from knowing when they show up.
I mean, peepholes exist.
Sure.
You could just look out one of those instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like
or you could wire the camera.
It sounds like we're just going to give a reason for using this thing that we want to use, so let's use there. And there's no point to putting in the word veteran officers except to like pull at people's heartstrings. Oh, he served so long.
Yeah.
They also use that as an excuse to do a no-knock raid next time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Why do you do the no-knock raid? Well, because they shoot through the door when we knock.
Yeah. Maybe you shouldn't raid people.
Yeah. So I want to just catch them when they're doing other things.
Yeah.
Instead of knocking on the door at 3:00 in the morning or whenever they were there.
Right. Or just like go there, 1 PM or something.
Whatever.
Send like a plainclothes officer to knock on the door. And then when they open the door, like there's so many ways they could go about this other than breaking into someone's house in the middle of the night and making them fear for their life and think that they're being robbed and having a violent confrontation.
Yeah.
It's almost like they want it to be a violent confrontation so they can shoot people.
I now have a video doorbell because it was cheap on Prime Day or prior to Prime Day. So I can see that stuff too, but I didn't get a good one. I got the cheap one, right? And I'm like, let's see how this works. But if I was doing something nefarious, right, I wouldn't use that.
Right.
I'd have it like the phone. I'd have everything hardwired in.
Yeah.
Right. Like you are not going to take out my electronics without cutting a wire, and then of course battery backups and whatnot. And if you wire it right, you'll see them coming.
Well, that's because you're intelligent, but a lot of criminals are not very intelligent. That's why they end up getting arrested and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I should have become a mastermind. I should have went down that career path.
When I was a kid,
it's too late, too old for that.
When I was a kid, I was always like a fan of
Maybe
the
next
villains.
lifetime.
In
Evil
cartoons.
genius.
Yeah, I was always a fan of the villains in cartoons because they were always like so smart and like cunning. So it kind of made me for a while be like self-conscious as a kid, like, am I a villain? But no, it's just I liked their intelligence. That's all.
The world needs bad guys.
Yeah, I mean, no.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I'm generally defined as a bad guy, and I'm fine with it.
Why do they need bad guys? What do the bad guys provide?
Black market services.
Well, if there wasn't stupid laws, we wouldn't need black market services because it would just be the market.
Fine. But right now, you don't have that.
Right now.
So you need bad guys.
Yeah, quote unquote bad guys.
Yeah.
They're not actually bad guys. Aside from the NEO, the DHS also built the FLETC Smart House, which is designed to train law enforcement about smart home devices and how they could be used against them. Alexa, shoot poison darts. Like, how can a smart home be used against you other than cameras?
Yeah, well, cameras and recording. That's it.
Well,
it's an accountability device at that point. I can
so
see you
insane.
coming, and I can hear what you're saying. That's it.
That's it.
That's all. Alexa, play music.
Mm-hmm.
So the government can surveil us through our listening through Alexa and things like that, but we can't surveil them back.
Alexa, play the Imperial March. That would hurt their feelings.
They do. Funny.
They do hold their
Or the
feelings in
NWA
very
song.
high regard.
Yeah.
So.
Or the NWA song. You got to have that ready to go. Can't say it on air, but you know which one I'm talking about.
A suspect who has been searched and is under the control of officers can cause these actions to happen with a simple voice command, which can start a chain of events to occur within a house, such as turning off lights, locking doors, activating the HVAC system to introduce chemicals into the environment and cause a fire or explosion to take place. Please, get out of here.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Right. They're watching James Bond movies and then thinking that this is what they're going to encounter out in the real
they're preparing
world.
for James Bond world when it's just The old lady.
They're partially right.
They all peaked in high school.
I have a
Makes
very
sense.
small apartment, and I have more Alexa devices than I have rooms in the apartment at this point. Again, thank you, Prime Day. But the fan is controlled. So if I put chemicals in the fan, it's just like that's it. It's just a backup device. Like as soon as I give this command, it's gonna blow the chemicals out. Okay, maybe.
But then you're also going to die.
Yeah.
People aren't doing this.
Mutually assured destruction. Well, I'm saying that I didn't say they were all correct. I said they're partially right. Like the smart homes can control those things.
Yes.
And turn off the lights. Yeah, you can turn off the lights.
But they break in at 3 a.m. when the lights are all off anyway.
Understood. Right.
So who cares?
The locking of the doors.
Mhm.
Right. Like okay, we you get into the breakout. The what's it called?
The battering ram.
Not the the safe room, whatever the safe room is called. And then you just lock, you can voice command the door to lock behind you or whatever.
Okay, but your house is locked when they bust into your house and do a no-knock raid. So, all of these things are inconsequential because they break in when it's dark, when the door is locked. Like, nobody has poison sarin gas HVAC systems. This is not a thing. So this is all just make-believe.
More bolts, longer screws, and one of those... I forget what they call the metal plates that go on the door jamb and below. Right, that makes it hard for the battering ram to get through.
Kick plates? No. That's like the little
armor
little
plates
thing that
of
goes
some
in the bottom.
kind.
It was like an L-shaped piece of metal that just went along the door jamb.
Okay.
So that when they hit it, right, they think that they're breaking through wood, right? And usually, if they shotgun the handle, the lock, right? If you have multiple locks in place, then they got to shotgun them all. Otherwise, they're only going to break a small hole in there, and the door won't open.
They just throw stuff through windows and break the windows, or tear your house apart. They will just tear your house apart to get in.
Well, yes, but by the time they hit the first one, you're alerted, right? They try to do it quickly so that you're not alerted, and then they have the strategic advantage. And so anything you can do to get them to alert and allow you to take a defensive position, right, is bad for them.
They should just stop doing no-knock raids on people.
Yes, and this one wasn't a no-knock raid in the example, right? It was like, well, we're just going to show up and knock, and the dude shot through the door.
No, he looked through the Ring camera.
Well, yeah, and saw them there, and then shot through the door.
603-283-6160, Free Talk Live. Call in, join the discussion.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. The United States says Hezbollah is behind Saturday's rocket attack in the Golan Heights, which killed at least 12 people, most of them children. It's feared this incident could be the tipping point for tensions between the Lebanese militant group and its neighbor Israel. The White House's National Security Council spokesperson Adrienne Watson said Saturday's, quote, horrific attack in Majd al-Shams that killed a number of children playing soccer was conducted by Lebanese Hezbollah and it should be universally condemned. Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran, has been attacking Israel since October in a show of support for Hamas, but it has denied responsibility for this latest strike. Israel said it conducted counterstrikes on Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. The US is working with Israel in Lebanon to find a diplomatic solution to avoid further escalation and, in turn, a wider regional conflict. US Transport Secretary Pete Buttigieg says voters are concerned about former President Donald Trump's age and well-being as he's now facing a much younger opponent in the November election. In an interview with Fox News Sunday, Buttigieg argued that Americans are worried about Trump's mental acuity at the age of 78.
I'm pretty sure voters are worried about the age and acuity of President Trump compared to Kamala Harris, who represents being a generation younger.
He said Trump is, quote, older and stranger than he was when he began his political career, and accused Trump of, quote, rambling at recent rallies on the campaign trail.
And how could anybody not watch the stuff he's saying, the rambling on the trail, and not be just a little bit concerned?
Pete Buttigieg is considered to be a potential running mate for Kamala Harris. Iowa's law banning most abortions after 6 weeks goes into effect on Monday. Scott Carr has more.
The law is now scheduled to go into effect Monday following the denial of Planned Parenthood's request for a rehearing in court. The legislation, known as the Heartbeat Law, bans any abortion after cardiac activity is detected. It does contain exceptions for cases of rape, incest, or to save the life of the mother. Initially passed last year, the law has faced legal challenges but will now be enforced in Iowa. I'm Scott Carr.
Nigeria is tightening security at its borders ahead of a planned protest against hardship and bad governance by young people across the country. Tessa Makende reports.
The country's immigration service made the position in a statement. This is coming after police in the country raised their alarm that organizers of the protest are planning to bring in foreign mercenaries to join in the protest scheduled to commence on Thursday, August 1st. Spokesperson of Nigeria's immigration service, Kenneth Udo, said security personnel have been directed to step up surveillance and prevent such people from coming into the country during the period.
The United States has taken home a bronze Olympic medal in the individual time trial of women's cycling. Chloe Dygert finished in third place after crossing the finish line in just over 41 minutes. She joins Rebecca Twigg as the only two Americans in history to win medals in both road and track cycling. Dygert said the race didn't go the way she thought it would.
Honestly, it was just me. I don't want to say that I had an off day because I ended up with a medal.
She also said winning the bronze medal is a bittersweet moment.
Stand on that top step, so I am a little sad for sure.
But ultimately, she said she was fortunate to compete in the Olympics.
Be here at the beginning of the year, I had a little bit of a setback, so I've had about 13 weeks to prepare.
Meanwhile, the US women's archery team came up short in its efforts against Chinese Taipei. The Americans were eliminated from the Summer Games after falling 5-1, unable to overcome their nerves.
You can see some shaking going on there. She's probably just a little nervous.
Poe Pinson and Paige Hayne also fell short of the podium in women's skateboarding. The main headlines again. The United States says Hezbollah is behind Saturday's rocket attack in the Golan Heights, which killed at least 12 people, most of them children. Iowa's law banning most abortions after 6 weeks goes into effect on Monday. And Nigeria is tightening security at its borders ahead of a planned protest against hardship and bad governance by young people across the country. And that is the latest from Feature Story News. I'm Jagruti Dave in Washington.
Several weeks after the car accident that resulted in the death of his longtime friend Matthew Abrams, local man Keith Bisbee told Onion reporters today that he isn't sure how much longer he should continue using the photo of his deceased friend as his profile picture on Facebook.
People can't really expect me to keep this up forever, right?
Bisbee told reporters he felt like he had done more than his part to preserve the young man's memory. Bisbee added, however, that he had no idea when to go about changing his profile picture.
I'm pretty sure nobody would judge me if I went ahead and changed the photo right now. Matt wouldn't expect me to still have a picture of him up. I mean, I wouldn't expect that of him. You know, I should just do it. Maybe I can go online later tonight when nobody's on. But his girlfriend gets home late from work. I don't really want to seem disrespectful. Maybe I could do it tomorrow morning, or...
At this time, Bisbee has reluctantly changed his profile picture to an image of a gay rights equal sign and is, quote, just waiting to see what happens next.
This is the Onion News Network.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. Talk radio you control. Call in at 603-283-6160. Official Free Talk Live. Oh, sorry. Free Talk Live. Wrong line. Free Talk Live is brought to you by LibertyMinded.com. Official Free Talk Live gear like t-shirts and hoodies are available at LibertyMinded.com. Plus, you'll find a unique collection of cool and funny liberty-oriented clothing at LibertyMinded.com. That's LibertyMinded.com.
We're doing this live. Yeah. Lori made a mistake on air. That's how you can tell.
I'm sure it won't be the last. I'm sure it won't be the last. Tonight in the studio, you have me, Lori.
Riley.
And Richie Rich.
And we have a call in San Antonio, Texas.
Ooh, Cowboys.
Hi, caller.
I hope it's a cowboy.
Greetings from San Antonio. It's your boy, the evolutionary capitalist.
Are you an evolutionary capitalist?
We were all very surprised it was you.
It's the
If evolution was as prominent as Skeeter said, he would have been selected out long ago.
Yeah, he would have been. Long time.
That's the refutation for any evolutionary response you have.
I am
you would not be around.
Messenger. I am evolution's messenger. I've cracked the meaning of life.
Is it because nobody wants to work anymore? Is that how you got the job?
What? Well, no, you have to be smart enough to break ground, actually connect the dots between evolutionary game theory and capitalism, remove the silly parts of democracy like natural rights from capitalism.
So where can people see your work and actually read it?
Facebook.
Skeet0 at blogspot.wordpress.org.
Oh, how do I get on Anarchist Experience? I want to.
We do the show Saturday afternoons at 3 on X. So if you find the Anarchist EXP on X, we do a Spaces broadcast.
Or you could make your own Anarchist show. If
you one.
If you really want to be part of the
I just need
experience.
opponents. I find it hard to.
I feel like you could just go. I feel like you could just go out into the public, and you would have plenty of opponents.
Oh yeah, easily.
So I do. I've already gotten kicked off 5 ANCAP discords.
I'm shocked.
But I just wanted to say, you guys are so ungrateful. Modern democracy is the only system to discover and create the idea of natural rights.
Wait, how does the democracy discover ideas?
You know who John Locke is, right? I mean, no. Discover natural rights, idiot. Listen before you interrupt.
Discover natural rights.
Yeah, but it also indiscriminately protects them for its citizens.
I don't think John Locke discovered natural rights. I think he put them in. I think he put them in terms people can understand. No, he didn't discover them. He put them in terms people can understand.
Rothbard stole. He refined natural rights to the point where Rothbard stole it and to incorporate it into this bastard form of capitalism, which is anarcho-capitalism.
What if I don't believe in natural rights?
Yeah, you're on the right track. Only if I could take that part of you and the evolutionary analysis of Peakless, because he's able to apply evolutionary analysis. I could maybe come up with half a competent brain.
So me and Peakless are like the Wonder Twins that refutes evolutionary capitalism.
I mean,
you can only debate one of us at a time, though, because he's on Saturday nights.
Yeah, that's weird. Like, you were on for a second, but Captain was roadblocking me. But anyways, I wanted to say that ANCAPs are delusional with your open borders. You realize the contradictions you're going to run into. You guys know that open borders don't work unless everybody perfectly believes in NAP, right? Otherwise, anarcho-capitalism is doomed to fail in a world full of government dictator sharks. You think if you're like in Ukraine's place, right, you could have open borders and let Putin buy land from your neighbors and build military bases? Security is a real thing in the real world.
I mean, there are those in the United States right now concerned that China is purchasing too much land. So that's not an open borders issue.
But it's an open borders issue because you can rely on the government. You can shirk your duties on protecting your land because the military is always going to come to protect you, even though you're trying to steal the land infrastructure through secession, right? But think if you were in Ukraine. Think if you really had freedom. You guys were in Ukraine's place.
If we were in the Ukraine and Putin was like buying land, there likely wouldn't be a war over land because it would be purchased on an open market.
No,
right? Like that.
So imagine
the market supersedes the violence.
Isn't like rising up and seceding kind of the American spirit anyway?
No, I'm fine with that. Yeah.
I'm asking Skeeter.
You guys, you can't compete with a centrally bank funded military, right? This is why you're stupid. Like before the war, if you guys were in
if they inflate their currency to worthlessness, we absolutely can. You just use better currency.
Putin wouldn't be fighting this war because he could easily just take you over after buying land from citizens who sell their land and build military bases. He could attack your land from the inside. You couldn't stop him from bringing in missiles and building military bases until he attacked. And you wouldn't have the support of the rest of the world like Ukraine does. Do you really think anarcho-capitalism is viable in the real world?
I think if he was able to purchase land and make money off of it, then he would be dissuaded from using violence.
He's not interested with you guys having your own set of rules on your land.
He's not really interested in Ukraine either if NATO would stay out of it. It's a proxy war. He's not even mad at Ukraine. He's mad at NATO for trying to bring Ukraine in.
Isn't he trying to re-annex them? I actually don't know the history of the
Well, start there.
All right, Skeeter, that's your homework. Thanks for calling. So, anyway.
Oh, good.
They had an agreement not to put any more NATO countries closer to Russia, and then they broke the agreement. And then they broke the agreement. And then they tried to get Ukraine to like break the agreement even further. He went, yeah, you guys have broken the agreement too much. I'm stopping it here because that's one too close.
That's the Cliff Notes version. I expect Skeeter to have a report next time. Okay. Next time he calls about, knowing what he's talking about.
Yeah, he wouldn't have to invade if they weren't trying to get into NATO, and if the deposed leader of Ukraine wasn't overthrown by a USA coup to put in Zelensky and his Nazi government. Right, like that's the history. That's the short history. His interview with Tucker Carlson, he went back like 1,000 years to give you the full scope of what's going on in that area, in that geographic region. But the short history is, that's it. The U.S. wanted to get closer through NATO to Russia. They overthrew the duly elected government of the Ukraine because that guy was friends with Putin, and they put in their own puppet government, and now there's a proxy war. That's it.
And now
I thought the war was to serve to cover up Hunter Biden's activities.
That might be why the U.S. is still there, but that's not why they invaded in the first place.
Okay.
They tried to annex regions of Ukraine that were sympathetic to Russia that Ukraine wouldn't let rejoin Russia. I mean, that's, I'll allow some conspiracy and some theory on that because that's more political than needs to be. But it's mostly a proxy war because NATO keeps encroaching beyond the agreed upon borders back when they made the agreement. I don't remember the exact date.
I can't get behind that there's a war being fought because of Hunter Biden's laptop.
Well, the politicians in the United States are definitely laundering money through the Ukraine, and Hunter Biden did set on the board of Burisma, which is like a Ukraine oil company, right, at the behest of Joe Biden. And when Burisma was being was prosecuted by the Ukraine government at that time, Joe Biden went over there and said, like, you're not going to get the funds. He admitted this. Like, this is an interview that he had. He's like, we told that prosecutor to drop the case or we'll find that you're not going to get the money. And by God, they listened to me and they dropped the case. And this is when he was vice president. And his son was on the board of directors that they were prosecuting. So he's involved. Whether or not the entire war is because of him is probably true, that it's not only because of that, but there's definitely a Biden link.
Oh, I'm sure that they're involved, but
and again, laundering the money through.
That's what they do, but they don't call it laundering money. It's different rules.
They get the taxpayers to pay Ukraine for the weapons and whatever, and then they get a kickback from that taxpayer money that just goes right into the big guy's pocket.
Right. That's how it works. That's like just the design, though.
There's an old interview of Joe Biden from like the 70s where he admitted he's like, well, the way things work is the lobbyist comes to me and they go like, well, we'll give you this much if you vote our way, and by God, that's the way I'm going to vote.
Yep.
And that was okay in the 70s. He said the quiet part out loud in the 70s and still managed an entire political career after that.
Yeah, I don't think people care.
They obviously don't.
About much.
They only care if they care that the politicians are giving them what they want. So if the politicians can give them what they want, they don't care how much money is laundered through the politicians. They don't seem to be focused on that.
I think they just don't care outside of their own individual space. Like,
sure.
Things are fine for me, and so it's fine. Who cares? Like, my life's fine.
I'm kind of okay with that. I mean, I don't care about most people beyond like my general circle of influence.
I don't like.
Right? That's the human condition.
I don't care about them like where I would be like, oh no, you're having rough times. Come over to my house and like cry on my shoulder.
Okay.
You know, but I care about the world and you know how the world is doing.
If you're one of the individuals that is like burdened by student loan debt, and Biden goes like, I'm going to waive it. We're gonna cancel all student loan debt.
Right.
Right. You're like, well, I don't care. You know, if other people have to pay for it, because I don't. Right. I'm burdened by it, and he's going to unburden me.
Oh, no. Now you sound like Kamala, and I'm having flashbacks.
By
the burdened thing.
Okay, yeah.
What is her thing?
I'm trying to think.
It's awful.
I'm okay. I can see what is and not be burdened by what was or
Something.
whatever it is.
She keeps saying it over and over again, and like my brain won't allow it to sink in and hold a place in there because I can't stand her.
Okay.
So she's terrible. So I'm going to finish up this article. This is the article talking about the Department of Homeland Security with their robot dogs to shut down all of the wireless capabilities in your house so that your smart TV doesn't blow up on them or something.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Shoots them with laser beams.
Yeah. The development shows how law enforcement is catching up with technological advancements. Smart home devices started becoming common in the mid to late 2010s, with many users installing them to automate several aspects of their houses and bolster security. So anyone with a little bit of technical know-how and ingenuity could potentially create a hostile environment using readily available wireless electronics. While NEO might not be able to affect hardwired smart devices, it would still be able to disable the radio frequencies most wireless IoT devices use, thus reducing the risk for law enforcement officers.
See? Wire it all. Hardwire.
Yeah, and
that's the ticket.
Also, they're saying they're catching up. We've had this since 2010. So it's not that this is some big new threat that they didn't know about. It's just they're trying to find a reason to say we need these cool robot dogs to come in and not let you film your murder.
And home security predates, smart devices, right? Like you could have had that wired camera on your door on the outside well before 2010 or Amazon or Ring or whatever, right? They've made it more convenient. So to say like, he shot through the door because of his Ring device,
Right.
No, he shot through the door because he saw you on camera.
Right. He could have had a peephole, is what I'm saying. And you
Yeah.
look out the peephole and same result.
Yeah.
So, like, that's not even any technology. That's just a hole in the door.
Yeah. And there's bigger peepholes than others that give you like a wider view.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it has nothing to do with the technology. They're scapegoating the technology as an excuse for their new toys.
Right. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. So, and also you have a story tonight that I really found to be terrible.
The 2 cows problem.
The 2 cows, cow wars.
2 cows.
At least it's not an 8 cow problem.
What's the 8 cow problem?
I don't know.
Okay. Is that too much hamburger meat for you?
Yeah, too much hamburger meat,
Okay.
not enough bone.
Well played. How 2 wandering cows started a culture war?
Oh, wow.
What is going on? One summer day, a cow and a steer walked away from their farm. Oh,
It sounds like the setup to a joke.
hand
It
in
does.
hand.
Or a sad story. Or a story with a happy ending.
You have 2 cows, but no bull. So you trade a cow for a bull and get the milk. The cow was black and was named
Racist.
Blackie.
Racist. You can't just call it Blackie.
Well, that's the racist part. The cow being black is just an observation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can't just say that. You got to call it a cow of color.
Okay. All right. It was an African-American cow
Mm-hmm.
named Blackie. That's worse. The steer was golden brown with 2 stubby horns. Guess his name.
Stubby?
Nope, close. Horny. Nobody knows when the cows got out or how. They crossed a field and a road and wandered onto a neighbor's yard.
Hmm.
This type of thing sometimes happens in rural western New York, where pastures and farms stretch for miles. But Horny and Blackie had crossed not into another farm, but into an animal sanctuary, whose owners save farm livestock from slaughter and encourages visitors to become vegans.
Imagine being a farmer and having that person live across the street from you.
That would
What a
be
tense environment.
That'd be a really tense
No,
environment. Like I
just do what they do. You just set up the grill right on the borderline.
Yeah. Grill up some hamburger right for the vegans.
Oh, I'm sure she's
Violate
over
the
there.
NAP with
for any vegan.
smell.
I'm sure she's over there Carol Baskining, like, how dare you?
I can't believe you sell those animals. The next morning, Tracy Murphy, the sanctuary's owner, found the cows in her yard. She herded them into a pen, she said, and immediately notified the local animal control agency. 6 days later, an investigator with the agency came to check in on the cows. He interviewed people from around the area and learned that a neighbor, Scott Gregson, was missing a heifer and a steer. Clearly, the cows discovered at the sanctuary belonged to Mr. Gregson.
I mean, if you have enough cows, you're not really out there taking head counts every day, are you?
Well, he noticed that they were missing. Like he noticed that they were missing, and then they found them.
Did he notice, or were they like, are you missing any cows? And he went out and was like, hold on, let me count.
I don't know.
You
I think
know?
he gets into it. But when go ahead, Riley.
We'll find out what the story is.
Yeah, stay tuned.
The rest of the story.
But when Mr. Gregson asked that they be returned, Ms. Murphy refused. First, she demanded proof that Mr. Gregson actually owned the cows. She also demanded he pay $2,500 to reimburse the sanctuary for 9 days' worth of hay, straw, and care.
It cannot cost anywhere near $2,500
For
to
weeks?
take care of a cow for 9 days. 2 cows. For
2
9
cows
days.
for 9 days. Yeah. So the number sounds outrageous,
Mhm.
but the idea that she be reimbursed for care, like that's part of the story that I'm okay with.
Yeah, that's okay.
We're like, okay, you can have them back, but I took care of them for 9 days. Here's, how much hay they ate and whatever.
Yeah.
Right. We bathed them, whatever.
That's okay, but for $2,500, that's not.
Right.
Steaks would be exorbitantly expensive if
Oh,
that
yeah.
was the cost of caring for a cow for,
For
9
9
days.
Yeah. Or Ms. Murphy suggested maybe her sanctuary could buy the cows, whom she was now calling Little Willow and Ishmael.
Those are terrible names. I like Blackie and Horny better.
I do too.
Hey, let the cows decide. They clearly weren't groomed into being Little Willow and Ishmael. That was 2 years ago. Since then, the case of the wandering cows has inspired death threats, rowdy protests, Shadowy figures skulking in the woods. Intercessions by Fox News and Joaquin Phoenix. Stolen chickens. County and state legislation, and a court battle featuring a rotating cast of lawyers, one of whom was convicted of felony duck theft.
Wow.
What?
It's crazy.
The town of New Fane, New York, population 3,200, has never been the same. Heifer hider. Before she came to own a 27-acre animal sanctuary, Tracy Murphy gave little thought to animals. She liked her home in Cheektowaga, a Buffalo suburb, and her job in banking. Then in 2004, she saw a billboard with a picture of a caged beagle used for product testing. The billboard disturbed her, so she searched the internet for animals abused by labs, circuses, and farms. What hit me hardest was the cows, said Miss Murphy, 61, describing video from a slaughterhouse. I had a nice life, but I wasn't happy. I kept saying that I wanted to move out to the country and I wanted to start a sanctuary. In January 2013, she finally did, buying a skinny rectangle of property in New Fane, 2 miles from Lake Ontario, on the edge of the Buffalo-Niagara Falls metropolitan area. In time, she quit her bank job and moved from the suburbs to her 27 acres. She adopted chickens and a turkey. At a farm auction, she paid $50 for a newborn calf. She named him Albert. And hosted Kiss a Cow events, which attracted people to learn about veganism.
Don't kiss cows.
Vegans kiss cows?
Don't kiss cows.
Ew, gross.
Well, this is one that does. Like, don't yuck on her yum.
I'm gonna.
Okay.
Yuck. I'm pretty sure there's laws, in fact.
Maybe not in New York.
Maybe not in New York.
Very liberal state, I've heard. The popularity of the event helped win grants to pay for the care of residents of Asha's farm sanctuary. Everybody wanted to come in and see Albert, she said. Hundreds of people. It was in the paper.
It's so weird. There's so many cows. Why is everybody so like, ooh, about one cow?
Because you make out with this one.
Oh.
It's the kissing booth. You can't just go up to a farmer's cow and kiss it. This one got permission.
I guess that's true. It's the kissing part. A lot of weird people in New York.
No cow grooming involved.
Okay.
A quarter mile away, Ms. Murphy's neighbor, Mr. Gregson, was just moving into his new house, too. A New York State trooper, he had left a small ranch home on a busy 2-lane highway outside the city of Niagara Falls, moving to a rambling colonial on a narrow road in New Fane. Mr. Gregson liked the quiet, the rural setting, and the chance to raise farm animals of his own. This was our little retreat, said Mr. Gregson, 44. Nice that you can retire at 44 from a government job.
Yeah. I mean, farming's not really retiring. It's still a lot of work.
I get it, but I mean, he was a police officer, retired police officer. I'm like, I'm just going to go on the farm and do my own thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Just set up. From his porch, he could see the woman across the road erect barns for her animal sanctuary. He didn't really pay much attention. Western New York is rich in animal rescue organizations, including at least one other farm animal sanctuary. He had some cattle, including Horny and Blackie. Mr. Gregson wanted to teach his 2 young children to care for livestock, and after grazing in his side pasture, a fattened and butchered cow could net a few $1,000s. Then 2 of his cows went missing. When Mr. Gregson drove to the sanctuary to ask for his cows back on July 5th, 2022, 9 days after they went missing, he showed up with fellow state trooper as well as the animal control investigator and members of his family. He was not in uniform, arriving as a neighbor, but things grew testy quickly.
Oh, he was still a cop.
No, I think he was a former cop, right?
It says he wasn't in uniform.
Okay.
So he must still be a cop.
All right.
Well, all right. 603-283-6160. We'll get into more of this stolen cow business when we come back. Call in. Free Talk Live.
You can't win if you don't enter, and you actually can improve your chances of winning a prize drawing if you wrinkle up your entry blank. I'm Holland Cook from survivalspeech.com, and I speak from experience. Why this works: if they'll be spinning the drum before drawing, your entry blank will move around more than, and not adhere to, other perfectly flat entry blanks. And if they don't spin the drum and merely reach into a box full of other perfectly flat entry blanks, many of which are sticking together, yours will feel different to the person reaching in. When you win, act surprised. And if you're looking for work, this is a metaphor. For more tips on sticking out in a world where just too much blends into the blah, 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 hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. The United States says Hezbollah is behind Saturday's rocket attack in the Golan Heights, which killed at least 12 people, most of them children. It's feared this incident could be the tipping point for tensions between the Lebanese militant group and its neighbor Israel. The White House's National Security Council spokesperson Adrienne Watson said Saturday's, quote, horrific attack in Majd al-Shams that killed a number of children playing soccer was conducted by Lebanese Hezbollah, and it should be universally condemned. Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran, has been attacking Israel since October in a show of support for Hamas, but it has denied responsibility for this latest strike. Israel said it conducted counterstrikes on Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. The US is working with Israel in Lebanon to find a diplomatic solution to avoid further escalation and, in turn, a wider regional conflict. U.S. Transport Secretary Pete Buttigieg says voters are concerned about former President Donald Trump's age and well-being as he's now facing a much younger opponent in the November election. In an interview with Fox News Sunday, Buttigieg argued that Americans are worried about Trump's mental acuity at the age of 78.
I'm pretty sure voters are worried about the age and acuity of President Trump compared to Kamala Harris, who represents being a generation younger.
He said Trump is, quote, older and stranger than he was when he began his political career, and accused Trump of, quote, rambling at recent rallies on the campaign trail.
And how could anybody not watch the stuff he's saying, the rambling on the trail, and not be just a little bit concerned?
Pete Buttigieg is considered to be a potential running mate for Kamala Harris. Iowa's law banning most abortions after 6 weeks goes into effect on Monday. Scott Carr has more.
The law is now scheduled to go into effect Monday following the denial of Planned Parenthood's request for a rehearing in court. The legislation, known as the Heartbeat Law, bans any abortion after cardiac activity is detected. It does contain exceptions for cases of rape, incest, or to save the life of the mother. Initially passed last year, the law has faced legal challenges but will now be enforced in Iowa. I'm Scott Carr.
Nigeria is tightening security at its borders ahead of a planned protest against hardship and bad governance by young people across the country. Tessa Makende reports.
The country's immigration service made the position in a statement. This is coming after police in the country raised their alarm that organizers of the protest are planning to bring in foreign mercenaries to join in the protest scheduled to commence on Thursday, August 1st. Spokesperson of Nigeria's immigration service, Kenneth Udo, said security personnel have been directed to step up surveillance and prevent such people from coming into the country during the period.
And that is the latest.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio you control. Call in at 603-283-6160. Are you tired of the oppressive rules and moderation of the big tech social media sites?
Yes.
Our Mastodon server at social.freetalklive.com can set you free. Mastodon is free, open source, decentralized, and federated. Multiple apps are available for iOS, Android, Windows, Mac, and Linux. Social.freetalklive.com. Tonight you have me, Lori.
Riley.
And Richie Rich.
And we're talking about cow wars.
Horny and Blackie.
Horny and Blackie
Be
cow
specific.
wars.
So he showed up. I guess, yeah, he's still a state trooper. He just moved and also farms now. Showed up with fellow state troopers out of uniform to go get his cows and said, well, I'll come and get the animals, Mr. Gregson said. No, "You're not coming to get the animals," Ms. Murphy replied.
She sounds horrid. Her voice was not very nice at all.
You're welcome. I tend to embellish. Ms. Murphy and Ms. Gregson's wife, I think that's supposed to be Mr. Gregson. There's misspelling in there. Both started filming the encounter. Even though Mr. Gregson had provided the state police with receipts proving that he owned the cows, Ms. Murphy refused to give them up. Mr. Gregson finally drove in frustration, leaving Horny and Blackie behind. Ms. Murphy took to Facebook Live and asked her supporters to tag and share the video to let them know that law enforcement is violating my civil rights.
To steal.
Yeah.
It's my right to steal.
In another Facebook post, Ms. Murphy published Mr. Gregson's home address and telephone number, so she doxed him too. Soon, Mr. Gregson received phone messages at his house threatening to rape and kill his children.
Oh, wow.
According to court documents filed by the Niagara County District Attorney's Office.
Why are people who are like vegan animal rights people tend to be so violent towards humans?
It's the brain makeup, I swear. Like, whenever you go vegan, you just become insane. It's like a cold.
It's a protein deficiency.
Yeah.
It's got to be a protein deficiency, and maybe a fat deficiency too.
Yeah.
Maybe.
To try to seriously answer your question is much like other things, like you want to protect tiny humans, right? That they feel the same way about animals. Like animals have the same rights. You ought not kill them. And so if you're a meat eater or an animal killer, you are in fact a murderer on the same level. And if you are a murderer on the same level, you don't get treated the same way as non-murderers. And that's kind of how society works otherwise.
I guess I just can't put myself in that mind space because it doesn't make any sense because they're not humans.
Okay.
So.
But they treat them as living beings.
Yeah. Oh, living beings, yes.
Yeah.
They are living beings.
Then you've murdered it.
No.
Murder.
See, but it doesn't make any sense because does a lion murder a zebra?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
It kills the zebra and eats it. Murder implies, malicious intent.
Oh, the intent's very malicious when that lion eats the zebra.
It's not. It's just to live.
Okay.
So I don't consider eating meat to be a murder. I consider it a killing.
Okay.
But they're very different in my mind.
I mean, if you want
And
to
also
get
you can't murder.
if you want to get technical, the only substantive difference is murder is a legal term.
Yeah.
Right. Murder is unlawful killing.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever.
But they're not people. They're not people, and their food. Like that's just the natural order of things is to eat animals. So.
Well, the vegans would tell you, and the animal rights activists would tell you, well, they're animals with feelings. And if you kill them, it hurts them. So we shouldn't be cruel to them or kill them.
We shouldn't be cruel to them. That's correct. Nobody
What
should be cruel
difference
to
does it
animals.
make? You're going to kill them.
Because it's unnecessary suffering.
It's the worst part.
No, the killing's not the worst part. I raise rabbits. I just tell them, one bad day. You just have one bad day. Your whole life, you're going to be taken care of. Everything's going to be great. You're going to be pet and loved and like all of that. And then one bad day and lights out.
Unless it affects the taste. Like, I don't really care.
It does affect the taste also.
Okay. That's the only legitimate reason.
Yeah.
Like if you're willing to go all the way to killing, like I don't care what you do up to that point.
I mean,
that seems like the worst thing, and anything else is not as bad.
No.
Okay.
Death isn't the worst thing. Torture and abuse, that's worse than death.
But you can live through that.
You
can't live through death.
You can live through it.
You can survive it
Mhm.
and like be a changed person on the other end of it.
Yeah.
Ask John McCain.
You're pretty changed after death too, but but like I don't know what happens after you die. What if there's nothing, then there's nothing, and no
Sure.
big deal. If maybe there's something nice, I don't know. But like I just don't think that it's that death is worse than torture.
Okay.
And abuse.
All right.
I think that's the better choice.
All right.
And also, they're not people; they're food. So
Yes, but and again, per Riley's comment earlier, there are animals that don't eat other animals.
Mhm. Yes,
right?
but they're herbivores.
But humans are capable of that choice.
Not
We're not hunting lion. We're not hunting zebra on the Serengeti.
anymore.
Right? We can eat a salad.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
But our biology is such that we do not function well without animal-based material inside of us. as fuel.
Okay.
So you need, like certain, what is the word I'm looking for? Amino acids that you can only get from meat. And people get it from, I guess can't only get it from meat. I think people get it from like seaweed or something, or some kind of sea thing to replace it when you're vegan. But it's not
like vegans aren't dying left and right.
They're not dying, but they're not in fantastic health either. Like they have to go to extreme steps to get the nutrition that their body needs.
Yes.
Yeah, if they have the nuts and seeds and mix all the oils and stuff together.
And take all kinds of supplements.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that's the point, right? We've gotten to a place where we don't have to eat the meat. We can choose not to and survive.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, like eating the meat and killing the animals, whether or not you torture them or not, right, is an unnecessary part of human evolution.
Maybe it's unnecessary if you want to go and live your life extremely difficultly to get all these things without eating animals, but it is the natural order. It is the natural way of a human being to eat. So it's not wrong to do because it is literally nature.
Right.
So
again, I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
But we don't have
all
to.
the vegans out there.
But you don't have to.
No, you don't.
We've evolved past that.
To.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the natural order of things was, and the new order of things could be.
No, I'm not down with new orders.
Okay. I can be unburdened by what was and allow what to be to be. I'm gonna have to look it up.
Okay, Kamala Richie Rich. Yeah. Kamala Rich.
Where was I? Oh yeah, she doxed him.
No.
And they threaten his kids. The town of Newfane seemed to unanimously unite behind Mr. Gregson. Someone doxed Ms. Murphy. She received threatening voice messages, emails, and comments on Facebook, calling for her to be lynched.
That's a little extreme.
I mean, she's a thief, refusing to return your cows. How bad does it have to get?
I mean, they used to string cow thieves up.
That's true, they did. Yeah. So maybe it's not that extreme at all.
It's the natural order.
Maybe she should be lynched.
The natural order. No, I don't think I'd hang.
It's not torture.
I don't
it's
think
just
I'd
a killing.
hang someone for stealing cows either.
Okay. Snaps the neck, no torture.
Mm-hmm. Well, these are people.
The torture is letting her think she's going to get off later, like death row for several years. That's torture.
People and animals have different rules.
Okay.
It just is.
Created by man, but sure.
I mean, I'm one of those though. Like people.
But you're also animals, right? You're
animals.
People in a subset of animals, of which there are many.
Yes.
And we're the only ones that create rules.
Yes, well, we're the only ones who create weapons too. Once they get some weapons, then they can start joining in on the making rules thing.
Okay. So once an orangutan starts to attack you with a stick, like, oh, welcome to the club.
Don't go near orangutans.
Okay. Where was it? Oh, yeah. Her to be lynched. Neighbors gathered for a rowdy protest at the edge of the animal sanctuary, carrying signs that said things like nacho cows, nacho like the cheese, nacho cows and heifer hider.
I still don't understand why the nacho cows. Like, what is that?
No clue.
Not a reference to anything. There's nothing about cheese in the story. Weird. Okay.
Derivative.
All right.
And heifer hider, as a parade of cars, trucks, and tractors rolled past, leaning on their horns and hooting.
This has got to be such a boring town that everyone has all this free time to harass.
They're like rolling coal at our animal sanctuary.
To harass these two people.
Their MAGA signs and the Trump flags out there too. To taunt Ms. Murphy's veganism, some men erected a large grill on her property line, and cooked steaks, according to court documents.
Wow.
A man in a cow costume stood in the sunroof of a pickup and pumped his fist as the driver laid on the horn.
Fight, fight, fight.
Someone on a motorcycle did donuts in Ms. Murphy's yard, tearing up patches of lawn. I was afraid for my life, Ms. Murphy said. Don't steal cows.
Don't steal.
You heifer hider. You could have avoided this. Just give the man back his property.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like she's a Karen, essentially. She wants the police to protect her when in reality she's in the wrong.
She stole from a cop.
Yeah.
What did she expect?
And how are these cops not just going and seizing the cows?
Because it's not New York City. It's Newfane. do things different up there.
I feel like that's if somebody steals your stuff and the cops come. Like, say I stole your bike and the cops come to my house and they're like, "Is that his bike?" And I was like, "Yeah, but I'm not giving it back." They'd just take it. And
They
also
should.
me.
Yeah, they
and,
ought. Yeah.
and also me.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that how that
She's
kind of works?
lucky.
Yeah. Why is she not getting the cows just
Because she was
taken?
live streaming to Facebook and had support from the community.
Oh, no. She had a body cam.
Joaquin Phoenix weighs in.
Why?
Celebrity endorsement. 2 days after the protest, 5 state troopers, all of them Mr. Gregson's colleagues, arrived at the sanctuary to execute a search warrant. Oh, that's why. They couldn't legally go on the property yet. They arrested Ms. Murphy. Neighbors loaded the cows into a trailer, a scene that was filmed and quickly uploaded to Facebook. When Ms. Murphy appeared in court that evening, she was chained at the wrist, waist, and ankles. She was charged with third-degree grand larceny, a felony punishable by up to 7 years in prison.
Yeah, cows are expensive.
The judge also imposed a gag order barring Ms. Murphy from posting any content on any subject on any social media platform.
That's the real punishment for someone like her. She can't go post about it and get her, vindication from other people that she's right.
And again, brought this amongst herself.
Uh-huh.
Right? You got the cows, you cared for the cows, you give them back, you send them the bill for care, and then you're like just good neighbors.
Yeah.
And he'd probably appreciate your sanctuary for caring for other animals that might have been tortured and abused. That did not keep her supporters from speaking out. Joaquin Phoenix, the actor known for his outspoken veganism, learned on social media incorrectly that Ms. Murphy had named the wandering cows Joaquin and Phoenix. He released a statement to local newspapers via Michelle Cho, his social impact advisor. To so harshly punish a woman who was simply showing kindness to 2 individuals who had wandered onto her property is astounding.
I see why he cares. Narcissism.
Yep, he wants to be famous.
It was about him first.
He's already famous.
Yeah.
No, he
he's
wants
already
to
famous.
be. He wants to be a virtue signaling famous.
Well,
you
no,
know?
he thought they were named after him, and he was like, "Ooh, ego pump."
Got to stand up for Joaquin and Phoenix.
That's right.
Exactly.
Within Newfane, though, the people agreed with Mr. Phoenix. Oh, few people. Sorry. Within Newfane, though, few people agreed with Mr. Phoenix. Ed Pettit, a retired engineer who lived down the road from Ms. Murphy, drove with several supporters to the property of an Acacia Sanctuary board member and strode onto her property. The board member said she was not involved in the dispute. This has gone way too far, she said, and Mr. Pettit filmed the confrontation. Mr. Pettit retreated to the street, grabbed a megaphone, and turned his camera on himself in a Facebook Live video as he led a small protest. "I'm sorry if I disrupt your dinner that was provided by farmers while I'm here fighting for the rights of farmers," he yelled to the neighborhood. All out war on us farmers. Early in her legal saga, Ms. Murphy came to be represented by Wayne Xiong, a prominent animal rights activist and lawyer based in California. Mr. Xiong found the nonprofit group Direct Action Everywhere, part of the open rescue movement, which advocates entering farms to free suffering animals and to report the conditions to law enforcement.
You mean theft?
Yes.
Okay.
But if they're being tortured, is it okay?
It's still not your property. So
Okay.
you can't just go into someone's farm and liberate their animals. That's still theft.
Okay. So they are allowed to torture. You just don't like it.
I mean, if it's their animal, it's
Torture
wrong.
the heck out of
It's
it.
wrong to do, but I can't just come and take it from you because
Okay.
it's property.
All right. Almost a year after her arrest, Mr. Xiong invited Ms. Murphy to speak at a Right to Rescue summit that he organized in the suburbs of Buffalo. She spoke to a small crowd about her case and then left. The rest of the day was spent teaching about 20 activists the practical aspect of open rescue, which farms to target, how to enter properties safely, and how to win the social media battle. Kimberly Simith, a local resident, took to Facebook to criticize the event's attendees. 2 days later, 50 chickens went missing from her farm. "I always felt very secure here," Ms. Simith said. Ms. Simith, "Now I feel really exposed. I started questioning, what am I doing out here?"
I feel like this lady watched Tiger King and she was like, that Carol Baskin made so much money being a Carol Baskin. and, being an animal rights person. So I'm going to do it too. Because otherwise, why would you have this big
sanctuary?
Army? No, the army part of it, like the social media justice warriors going and like doxing people and death threats and all of that.
Well, because the first court battle that you need to win is the court of public opinion.
I don't know. Oh, also, when I said that you can't just go and take someone else's property because they're torturing the animals, one of the reasons for that is because people like this could just say, well, you're going to eat them and that's torture.
Okay.
So you can't just do that. There has to be some kind of process to that, like this people coming together and agreeing that the animals, but still their property. So
you got to trespass to put up the cameras to witness the torture.
Well, I guess you're not getting it then. Get a drone. Okay. I don't know.
So torturing is okay.
You heard it here.
That same week, a farmer named Paul Strobel noticed two people in his driveway 2 miles south of Aisha's sanctuary. He watched as the trespassers, a man and a woman, approached his cattle gate, filming his livestock with their phones. He ran outside yelling. The pair returned to their car and sped off. Mr. Strobel gave chase in his pickup, but the couple got away. She brought those people in, Mr. Strobel, 54, said of the animal activist. If she doesn't get punished, it'll be all-out war on us farmers.
Sounds a little dramatic.
Well, no, not
You're
really.
welcome.
I guess you're right, because...
That was a quick change of opinion, Riley.
I mean, it does sound a little dramatic, but you're also right, because farmers are really important in society. Farmers essentially provide food.
Yeah, and if people keep going to their farms and stealing all their animals, it's going to be an all-out war. You're stealing people's property, and if it doesn't stop, they're going to have to fight back.
As they're well within their right to do.
Violently.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please. Many in the area agree. Days after the incident, Rob Ort, the New York Senate Republican minority leader, organized a news conference on Mr. Strobel's farm. He discussed legislation to increase criminal penalties against farm trespassers. The bill remains in committee and made what seems to be a veiled threat. This is a dangerous situation, Mr. Ort said to the small crowd of journalists. The Second Amendment exists to protect persons and property, and I would remind these advocates of that fact.
That's right. There shouldn't be special protections. There should just be like, it's already there. Like the Second Amendment and don't steal people's property.
Yeah, it's like hate crimes, though.
Yeah, I don't like that stuff.
Okay.
Because it makes people more equal. Like, you're equal, but some people are more equal. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Not all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others.
No, it's people.
Oh.
It's people that they're making more equal than others.
She missed the reference.
Oh. Animal Farm?
Right.
There you go.
I was making an Animal Farm reference on here.
I read that in like 7th grade, so it's no longer in my reference book.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well played. He wasn't the only government official who wanted to go to war with animal activists. The Niagara County Sheriff, Michael Filicetti, posted a warning on his official Facebook page asking residents to be on the lookout for suspicious activity. At least 14 people responded to the post by making death threats against Ms. Murphy. He went on Fox and Friends First, where he blamed the trespassing incident on animal rights activists, though none of the trespassers were stopped or questioned. It's not rescuing, he said. It's a crime. Sheriff Filicetti did not respond to interview requests.
I can't imagine being upset about anything to the point where I'm making a death threat. Like if somebody took my child, I wouldn't be making death threats. I would just kill them. That would be the end. Like, there would be no threats.
Okay.
It would just be the death part. So like, I can't imagine being so upset over something on someone else's behalf that I'm like, I'm going to kill you.
The internet allows for it.
It's
because there's no consequences for those threats.
Well, it's dumb.
I'm not disputing that, but that's why people feel emboldened.
Well, they should stop.
Right. I mentioned my boss in the earlier story. Right. He was unfamiliar with the term swatting. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with the term swatting?
I am.
Okay. So for those who don't, that's when you like call the cops on someone you don't like, and then they show up at that person's house, guns a-blazing, like the SWAT team is wont to do, in the hopes that the police will take care of your business for you. And it's allowed, right? Because of the internet and the anonymity of making those kinds of calls.
So if you were found out for swatting someone, could you be charged with like attempted murder or anything like that? Probably not, because they don't want to admit that they're murderers.
Well, it's the difficulty is getting found out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it usually happens. The common approach is like in online video games.
Mm-hmm.
Like who do you know who you're actually playing against? When you file the police report, like how are they going to get those reports and find the IP address of someone in Ohio?
There's ways, because there was that one guy who got into a fight with somebody online playing a video game and flew to his house and stabbed him.
Yeah, but that's special.
So it can be found out.
That guy was special. Way to preempt a swatting.
People should take video games less seriously.
No! It's big industry, Wiley.
Business.
No, I'm sure it is, but take them less seriously,
People
man.
talk about your mom in there.
I was it's common now, but I was like an original beta tester for the original Xbox Live.
Oh, cool.
So when all that trash talking began in the early days of like the consoles being online,
Mm-hmm.
like I was there.
Yeah.
I got the special memory card and the T-shirt somewhere and everything. But yeah, those are fun times because you just trash talk,
Mm-hmm.
and the mature ones of us just like laughed it off because we weren't snowflakes and still aren't.
I haven't played video games since, like, I guess everyone got into video games. It was still kind of nerdy when I was playing video games, like the 360 days.
Nerds.
360 was the last game that I was playing. Like, I was playing online, Left 4 Dead mostly.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it was back then.
It's a good time to stop, by the way.
Yeah, I haven't played since. I haven't had a system or anything like that.
You're not missing much.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it feels like everybody suddenly started playing video games, and now people don't get like the what is the word I'm looking for? Like the
culture, the vernacular. Okay,
like the social culture of gaming online with people.
Yeah.
You're supposed to trash talk each other. That's part of the fun.
It was part of the fun.
It was part of
and
the
then they
fun.
started regulating it, and you can't have old guys, telling 13-year-olds what they're going to do with their mom, and so they started moderating it, and it became a lot less fun. But I was talking to a coworker, friend about that. I don't remember who it was, but like the trash talking was just something you did.
Yeah.
Right. They made a TV show on
It makes it part of the game.
It extended into the culture because we weren't snowflakes, right? Like there was the MTV show, Yo Mama, right? The whole show was just people insulting each other with Yo Mama jokes.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like broadcast on television, cable television, but still.
Yeah.
Right. And no one cared. There wasn't no like, oh, you can't say that. And cancel culture is like, no, you watched the show and then you went to school the next day and you used those jokes on your friends.
Yep.
Because that was fun.
Mm-hmm. But now everybody's so offended about everything.
That's what I'm saying. It predates the snowflake days.
When did everyone get offended? Why is everyone so offended? If you're offended, call in at 603-283-6160. Tell me why you're so offended.
And I'll have a Yo Mama joke ready for you.
You better.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live.
What is your goal? What do you want of this revolution that you speak of?
You got to stir things up enough so that people will actually revolt in a big way.
And what will that result in?
Millions of people in the streets, and the military guys ain't going to like it.
So what is your goal? You don't really know, do you? You don't really know what you want besides chaos.
A bloody revolution in the streets is
You want a bloody revolution? This is why I don't want to associate with people like you. Thank you for the call. You're dangerous and crazy, in my opinion, if you're talking about bloody revolution. Violent revolution just results in more violence in the future because the people who were the most violent are the ones that rise to power in whatever new power structure is created after the revolution's all over and done with, after the blood has spilt. Whoopee-doo, you've changed out one gang of criminals for another gang of thugs.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern at freetalklive.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. The United States says Hezbollah is behind Saturday's rocket attack in the Golan Heights, which killed at least 12 people, most of them children. It's feared this incident could be the tipping point for tensions between the Lebanese militant group and its neighbor Israel. The White House's National Security Council spokesperson Adrienne Watson said Saturday's, quote, horrific attack in Majd al-Shams that killed a number of children playing soccer was conducted by Lebanese Hezbollah and it should be universally condemned. Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran, has been attacking Israel since October in a show of support for Hamas, but it has denied responsibility for this latest strike. Israel said it conducted counterstrikes on Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. The US is working with Israel in Lebanon to find a diplomatic solution to avoid further escalation and, in turn, a wider regional conflict. US Transport Secretary Pete Buttigieg says voters are concerned about former President Donald Trump's age and well-being as he's now facing a much younger opponent in the November election. In an interview with Fox News Sunday, Buttigieg argued that Americans are worried about Trump's mental acuity at the age of 78.
I'm pretty sure voters are worried about the age and acuity of President Trump compared to Kamala Harris, who represents being a generation younger.
He said Trump is, quote, older and stranger than he was when he began his political career, and accused Trump of, quote, rambling at recent rallies on the campaign trail.
And how could anybody not watch the stuff he's saying, the rambling on the trail, and not be just a little bit concerned?
Pete Buttigieg is considered to be a potential running mate for Kamala Harris. Iowa's law banning most abortions after 6 weeks goes into effect on Monday. Scott Carr has more.
The law is now scheduled to go into effect Monday following the denial of Planned Parenthood's request for a rehearing in court. The legislation, known as the Heartbeat Law, bans any abortion after cardiac activity is detected. It does contain exceptions for cases of rape, incest, or to save the life of the mother. Initially passed last year, the law has faced legal challenges but will now be enforced in Iowa. I'm Scott Carr.
Nigeria is tightening security at its borders ahead of a planned protest against hardship and bad governance by young people across the country. Tessa Makende reports.
The country's immigration service made the position in a statement. This is coming after police in the country raised their alarm that organizers of the protest are planning to bring in foreign mercenaries to join in the protest scheduled to commence on Thursday, August 1st. Spokesperson of Nigeria's immigration service, Kenneth Udo, said security personnel have been directed to step up surveillance and prevent such people from coming into the country during the period.
The United States has taken home a bronze Olympic medal in the individual time trial of women's cycling. Chloe Dygert finished in third place after crossing the finish line in just over 41 minutes. She joins Rebecca Twigg as the only two Americans in history to win medals in both road and track cycling. Dygert said the race didn't go the way she thought it would.
Honestly, it was just me. I don't want to say that I had an off day because I ended up with a medal.
She also said winning the bronze medal is a bittersweet moment.
Stand on that top step, so I am a little sad for sure.
But ultimately, she said she was fortunate to compete in the Olympics.
Be here at the beginning of the year, I had a little bit of a setback, so I've had about 13 weeks to prepare.
Meanwhile, the US women's archery team came up short in its efforts against Chinese Taipei. The Americans were eliminated from the Summer Games after falling 5-1, unable to overcome their nerves.
Now you can see some shaking going on there. She's probably just a little nervous.
Po Pinson and Paige Hayne also fell short of the podium in women's skateboarding. The main headlines again. The United States says Hezbollah is behind Saturday's rocket attack in the Golan Heights, which killed at least 12 people, most of them children. Iowa's law banning most abortions after 6 weeks goes into effect on Monday. And Nigeria is tightening security at its borders ahead of a planned protest against hardship and bad governance by young people across the country. And that is the latest from Feature Story News. I'm Jagruti Dave in Washington.
In a statement this week, famed actor and television icon Dick Van Dyke confessed to being the Zodiac Killer, responsible for terrorizing Northern California in the late 1960s and early 1970s. The 85-year-old actor, known for his television and film appearances in classics such as Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, Mary Poppins, and The Dick Van Dyke Show, said he committed the Zodiac murders but also killed over 37 additional people. Van Dyke said, quote, "It was unbelievably easy for me to go kill someone, come back to Burbank, and get on set. It was actually part of the fun to see if I could book a flight and make it back in time." Van Dyke's confession is corroborated by several eyewitnesses describing the Zodiac Killer as, quote, "a gangly, loose-limbed man with a toothy grin and a spring in his step." In other news, the open dialogue two Americans are having about race is pretty hilarious. A husband is experimenting with an open marriage, and a f***ing loser is at a movie all by himself. This episode of The Onion Week in Review was paid for, funded, and entirely created by The Onion, and in no way benefited from cheap, thankless viewers like you. For more, keep checking theonion.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio you control. Call 603-283-6160. It's officially unofficial. We've been podcasting since podcasts began. But we're launching a new podcast anyway. Our new podcast is a 30 to 45-minute show releasing once a week. And you can find it at freetalkcast.com. It's brought to you by the same people who bring you Free Talk Live, and we'd love for you to check it out. The existing radio archive isn't going anywhere. This is just a new show designed from the start to be a podcast, so check it out at freetalkcast.com. Tonight in the studio, you have me, Lori.
Riley.
And Richie Rich.
And we have a call from Ricky from the Commonwealth. Hi, Ricky.
Thank you there, Sister Lori, Brother Riley, Brother Richie, good evening.
Good evening. Hey, Ricky.
Yeah?
Your mama's so fat, she was floating in the ocean, and Spain claimed her for their new world.
Now, Brother Rich, I gotta give you a little credit there, because that's exactly what I was gonna go into. And you know what the best part of this whole thing is? I'm about ready to, I'm sure, offend plenty of people out there, but that's all good, because that starts discussion. You see, it comes down to this, people. First of all, let me point out something here. Forget about the First Amendment. Look at where you live. That's the bread and butter. They want you to forget that. Look at your Constitution, because really when it comes down to it, that's all that matters. So if you want to embrace freedom of speech and play with that on the First Amendment, that's your choice. But I don't recommend it. But see, you not only have the right to offend, but you have the right to hate other people. It's a constitutional right. As long as you don't have associated crimes with it, it's perfectly all right. Let me point this out to you. Now, you got hate groups out there. You got a hate group of everything. You got the Klan. You got Black Lives Matter. You can go down the list. I don't care if they hate. It's their right. This is something people aren't going to probably find accepting of me. But a funny thing I wanted to throw out there, though, Richie, and you may be noticing this, or maybe Sister Laura Riley, it's getting very close. See, I watch the news, and sometimes it doesn't quite happen. No, you know what I mean. No, Brother Riley will attest to this.
He does not watch the news.
I don't watch the news either.
Well, I don't either, but you know what? All blind people say stuff like that, and this is not the first time this has happened. But no doubt, I'm not going to put out that kind of thought expenditure to it because it would take way too much of it. But no, seriously, you know, the point I'm trying to make here is that one thing that I've noticed, now, I don't care, you watch the news, you know, every day people come in and they'll trample on freedom of speech and they don't understand it. But I don't know if you've noticed it. Now, first of all, on the TV, I've noticed many of elected officials treading close to that territory. But they don't quite do it.
The territory of ignoring the First Amendment or the territory of hate?
Yeah, that you have the right to hate other people.
Okay.
You know, they can't say that. They're elected officials. But you know who did say it? Uncle Joe. Uncle Joe, I have to admit, this has bothered me ever since it did. And this is when they were having the protests.
Is this the racial jungle comment or a newer one?
No, this is an older one. This is the one that when they were protesting, the colleges, the students, and all of that.
Okay.
Okay. Now, Uncle Joe goes on the TV, and he comes out with this one. He says, hey, you know, I don't endorse the violence. Okay, we agree on that, but here's where he lost me. He says, but I personally, now mind you, that's the quote word, personally don't condemn anti-Semitic speech. Now, I think he's gone too far, you know, because that to me, first of all, you expected me to believe that Joe Biden, the person, and Joe Biden, the president, two separate people. Worse than that,
well,
you know, he, as far as I'm concerned, he broke it all to fucking pieces. Now,
You
Joe's
can't say
gotta
it on the
have his own
radio.
brain.
We have to let you.
I got to let you go. You can't say that on the radio. So my thing is that, yes, you have the right to offend people.
You have the right to hate people if you want,
have the
but
right
it's
to
not a
hate
good
people if
idea.
you want. I mean, it's fine. If you don't care for social interactions and, you know, having pleasant experiences with people, who cares? But making it illegal is the part that bothers me.
Yeah.
So it already is. He was saying that,
Well,
you know,
part of
they're treading close, but
the crime is illegal.
saying certain words is a crime now. It is a hate crime. You can't say certain words.
Okay.
I can't say them here, obviously. You
All
can't
right.
say them.
Well, I, in the commission of a crime, you are likely correct.
I'm
But-
pretty sure it's just considered a hate crime if you say such a thing.
Okay. I mean, I know you can't say them, but I'm trying to think in my head of examples that where words would be crimes on face value, and I'm not coming up with any examples.
Well, you can't make a death threat. That's a crime. That's
Okay.
one.
But that's not a hateful thing. That's a threat. That's already, you know.
It's word crime, though.
Okay.
I didn't do anything to you.
Sure.
I should be able to say anything that I want and not be arrested for it. Words cannot hurt you unless you are a little crybaby.
Whereas you are correct, I think most libertarian thinkers would agree that threats fall in line with violations of the non-aggression principle.
I guess.
And
it's still just words.
I agree,
gotcha.
it's still just words, but some people feel that a threat is a violation of the non-aggression principle because of the way the person is going to react to that threat.
Right. Like if you say, I'm going to kill you, right? Like my life is now in danger. And if I respond in defense of that, I'm now in the right.
So if somebody sends you a message on the internet and says, I'm going to kill you, you are right to go hunt them down and kill them first.
Yeah. Because the threat's on the table. Like this is, you know, this is part of what happened with Free Talk Live and Mark Edge, right? There was a caller in Arizona that continued to levy threats on air, like threatening harm against Mark and his wife and his child. And the government did nothing about it.
Why did you guys keep taking his calls?
Because Ian said, we're just going to keep taking the calls. It's just words, right? But Mark felt threatened.
Yeah.
Like he felt threatened enough to call the FBI and the Keene police and went back and forth with them for however long he did, right? Because this dude had he felt that the threat against his family was legitimate enough to take action against.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, if I'm playing Xbox and dude goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna kill you," right? That's not a legitimate threat, and I wouldn't like show up at his house and stab him in the neck.
Right.
Right. But if someone levies a claim like, "Dude, that's I'm gonna kill you," right? You have to take the threat seriously in a lot of cases, especially in that one. And yeah, it was just words, and they continued to take his call for years.
I
Right?
would not take his calls anymore.
Well, that's your personal choice, but that's not what happened.
Yeah.
But it was a legitimate threat, and it was online, and there's a Facebook page that probably now defunct, with all of the threatening things that this dude would say on air, and then in messages to Mark at the time.
So, like a threat like that, where there's known, they mean it. But like there was a point in time.
That's the words.
There was a point in time where kids were in school saying like, "I'm going to kill you" to someone else, and like being punished for this over something that they're not actually going to do. It's just a phrase that they're saying.
Yeah. And we generally grew up in a time where they didn't show up and shoot up the entire school.
Right. It's true.
Right?
We did not have school shooters.
Well, we did, but they weren't.
Two, I think.
Okay.
Before the times of now, where
I think the original one was like in the 70s or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But still, like it was not as frequent or as in the world as they are now.
Right.
Right. So if someone said like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill you," back then, it's like, yeah, whatever. Go to class, stupid. Right.
Yeah.
But now if the guy goes like, "Yo, I'm gonna kill you," right, and shows up the next day with an assault rifle, or not an assault rifle for those who know the difference, right, and shoots up, like you got to take the threat seriously. It's a different world.
I guess it's a different world, and I'm just out of touch, old lady.
I'll accept that.
We do have another call.
Get some cats.
No, I don't want any. Sarah in New Mexico. Hi, Sarah.
Yes, I was visiting through Chicago, and then
you survived.
Well,
congratulations.
Yeah. Well, I just saw some very peculiar bicycle paths. I mean, they were actually painted green, and then the right-hand turn way was going one way, and the left turn hand was going the other way. Two bicycle
As it should.
paths, like a roadway.
Left hand should go the opposite of a right hand turn in most places. Yeah.
Makes sense.
No, two bicycle paths within one bicycle lane.
So
there's one.
That's a metropolitan area with a high population density that apparently has enough people on their bikes that they need bike lanes, I guess.
I mean, we have bike lanes in Manchester.
Yeah, I guess there's
they're not green, but they're there.
I guess there's none in Albuquerque.
No, we don't have any of those things. And these bicycle lanes were actually kind of towards the intersection. There was like a concrete slab, just a little bit, maybe 6 inches to keep the cars away. And then they had these poles that kind of kept the cars from the bicycle lanes. I've seen those in Denver. I don't see too much of that here in Albuquerque.
I'm not endorsing like government funding for these things, but it does seem safer for the bikes if you're going to allow them to be on the road.
Well, it sounds like Albuquerque's not safe for anyone anywhere on any road. So maybe they don't want bikes.
Well, what's peculiar is that we have the road diet, narrow the 4 lanes into car lanes, and then we put a bicycle lanes, and actually people were using it for parking lanes. I mean, they couldn't figure that was actually a bicycle lane. So they had to get rid of the cars from parking in the bicycle lane.
And then no parking signs weren't enough, I guess.
I guess not. Yeah.
You know why? It's because making laws doesn't actually stop people from committing so-called crimes.
Nope, it doesn't.
I mean, there's an effect. People figure it out when your car gets stolen by the police.
Yeah. It obviously doesn't stop people, though, since they're doing it.
Yeah,
I'm sure those bike lanes weren't made like last week.
It doesn't stop it completely, but it stops a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
You will lessen the crime, the newly created crime.
Yeah, so I'm just excited. I've seen those bicycle paths when I was visiting Denver too. Also,
Okay.
So they actually have actual poles that they got, and they paint it bright green, like a dark green, so you can visibly see it. And then they have those like thin, and they're not reflective barriers; they're actually concrete like poles that's placed on the outside. So, I mean, I just have hope that...
Sounds like they care about their citizens a lot more than Albuquerque.
Yep.
I know, and I think, does Denver have red light cameras? I know that Chicago has 60 red light cameras. That's all they have in the city limit, from what I was told. But
Chicago's also
Denver,
like second or third murder capital of the world.
So do you hope that Albuquerque would have these bike lanes?
Well, it's something is better than nothing. So we're doing a lot of road diets, knowing the roads and putting in bump outs and stuff like that. And
just ride on the
drivers
sidewalk.
obviously complain about that too. So I'll take anything. I'll take any, green colored bicycle paths. I'll do roundabouts.
Do you ride a bike?
Rainbow colored crosswalks.
Do you ride a bike, Sarah?
1 month out of the year.
No, I do not ride a bike, but I do walk all the time.
So you would
from bus stop.
Would you be using the bicycle lanes to walk in?
She better not. She'd be an obstruction.
Right, but the thing is that what I also noticed that these bicycle lanes on the outside of the bicycle lanes, I think when I was in Denver or so, they actually park their cars. It's also a parking lane. So after these bicycles are outside of it, it's actually a car parking lane.
Yeah, because they put up the little barriers that you can't get to the curb anymore. They've created a new curb.
Mm-hmm.
Right, it's not the curb. The curb to the bicycle. So the new curb is after the outside of the bicycle lane.
Right.
Yeah, he's saying that it makes like a barrier between the road and the
They've
bicycle.
effectively created a new curb because you can't cross the bike barrier to get to the curb to park your car.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Unless you drive a Trump truck.
So in actuality, it buffers the cars away from the bicyclist.
Mm-hmm.
Bicycle. So then, as a pedestrian, they have these bicycle lanes. It's actually safer for the pedestrians. I'm in support of these. So what does the cars?
Pedestrians are already raised up on the sidewalk. There's already a curb for you.
Apparently, in Albuquerque, people are just driving off the roads onto the sidewalks and mowing people down.
over. Is that what's happening?
They gotta make the sidewalks taller then?
I don't.
8-inch sidewalks.
Well,
12-inch sidewalks.
Sky bridges.
They love to speed.
That works.
They love to run stop signs. They love running red lights. Red lights, they just after 3 cars run the red light, or they just gun it at high speed. Just traffic violation. And then they're just really lawless here. So I'm doing my efforts, and I'm just noticing all of these others when I'm visiting other cities, that they're doing all these other stuff. So
are you calling your local legislature to have them implement these better features for you?
I have been bugging them, and they're going to do one of the streets, road diet. It's all of Louisiana. I think they're going to do like maybe 3.5 miles of it. It was Nightmare Crossing. So they're going to actually have instead of painted yellow lines to stand in the middle and cars could run you over, flatten you, they actually have pedestrian refugees that are solid. And they're going to narrow the road. So I've been working on this for 15 years ago. I've been going to the street design meetings, so the improvements are coming. But it only took 20 years. I mean, I've been going to these meetings.
Well, in 20 years, you'll have green bike lanes.
I don't know about we're going to get the bike. I don't know. We're going to get some kind of a bicycle lane, not the one they have in Chicago. That goes either way. But we're going to have a bicycle lane, narrow the road, and then have some solid medians so people stand and cross. So I'm looking really forward to that, but the drivers are complaining because they're always whining that I can't go fast. I
got places to be.
Yeah, well, Well, that's the whole idea, is to slow you down.
I bought a car that can do 100 miles an hour. I'm not allowed to top it out. Come on. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, but I'm kind of curious. Why do
Where's
they
the freedom?
make cars that go up to 120 miles an hour?
Why not?
And what is it? Okay, but when are you going to use that?
In an emergency.
Unless you're a police.
I once drove past an ambulance on a freeway with his siren blaring. I'm like, I'm not going to slow down for this guy. He's going too slow. He's supposed to be going faster than me.
We're supposed to slow down for those emergency ambulance.
Yeah, but he was already going too slow. I wanted to go faster. So I just went around him.
Okay.
I wasn't in his way.
I think you blew Sarah's mind.
Yeah, but there's that speed on the cars to be. I mean, it never makes any sense to me. They're always mad about speeders, and then what's the speed limit? What's the highest speed limit here on the freeway?
I think 80.
It was 80 in Utah.
Right?
Yeah, that was wonderful.
Yeah, it's 80 in Utah.
Yeah. It's because there's nothing between hither and yon in Utah.
It's true.
Just got to get there.
It's just a nice,
it's flat and straight.
Yeah, and if it was any slower, it would take you like a day to get anywhere.
It's the longest drag strip I've ever driven on.
That has a speedometer of 110. That behooves me. It should just limit at 80 miles per hour, because that's the highest speed limit.
What if you need to pass?
My speedometer went to 85. I went a lot faster than 85.
What if you're going 80 and you need to pass somebody? You can't go 80 to pass somebody who's also going 80.
Well, then why do they put that speed limit? They need to have a class 80.
It's arbitrary designation by the government.
That's right.
Yeah, it pretty much is. The government just likes to control people.
They're also trying to stop that. They're starting in England or wherever, where they're actually putting limiters on the vehicle.
Governors.
But connected to the speed limit. Like if you're in a 60 mile an hour zone, you're not going above 60. Your car won't let you.
Oh no!
Yeah,
like computer.
It's coming.
No,
the technology exists. Sarah's going to be thrilled.
I'm going to get a horse. You can't computerize a horse.
Yeah, then you only got 1 horsepower. You're not going to go fast anyway.
I don't go anywhere.
Okay.
Well, Lori's lucky.
Yeah,
You're going to be bow-legged. Walk funny.
Well, is it part of the automated self-driving car thing? Well, aren't they going to program it so when you get to a yellow light, it automatically slows down and stops for you?
No, they programmed it the other way. At least Tesla did. Got in trouble for it. He's like, well, the algorithm is based on what normal people do, and normal people don't stop at stop signs, so our car doesn't.
So the Tesla's gunned it?
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, they just keep getting better. Everything I hear about Teslas, they just keep getting better.
We'll have to tweak it.
Oh, that's how the Albuquerque drivers drive. The yellow signs need to speed up as fast as you can so you could T-bone somebody when it turns red. I mean, that's what yellow light means here.
You know where there's less accidents? Is intersections that don't have lights.
Yeah.
Which is a roundabout.
Those work. Well, those are fine too.
Intersections, like actual intersections, 4-way intersections that don't have a signal light, have less accidents than ones that do have signal lights.
But what about stop signs?
What?
The
stop signs.
You mean the blind intersections? Are you talking about that?
I mean an intersection that doesn't tell you when to go.
Just imagine an intersection with a stoplight, Sarah.
But then
without a stoplight.
But take the stoplight away. And people just take turns.
Imagine that.
And because they have to take turns, people pay attention as to when it is their turn. And so people are not flying out into the intersection like they do at lights because they're trusting the light.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, it all sounds good. Maybe something will come out, of all this with all this technology. So
you should
again, it's already out.
You should petition your lawmakers to remove all the traffic lights, and then you'll have less accidents.
That's not a bad idea.
Mm.
You'll have more accidents in the beginning, and then people will figure it out.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Sarah.
You got to go through that growth spurt period where it's painful.
Yep. Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. Call in and join the conversation with us.
Hey, you are going to love the movie Victimless Crime Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless Crime Spree.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. The United States says Hezbollah is behind Saturday's rocket attack in the Golan Heights, which killed at least 12 people, most of them children. It's feared this incident could be the tipping point for tensions between the Lebanese militant group and its neighbor Israel. The White House's National Security Council spokesperson Adrienne Watson said Saturday's, quote, horrific attack in Majd al-Shams that killed a number of children playing soccer was conducted by Lebanese Hezbollah, and it should be universally condemned. Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran, has been attacking Israel since October in a show of support for Hamas, but it has denied responsibility for this latest strike. Israel said it conducted counterstrikes on Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. The US is working with Israel in Lebanon to find a diplomatic solution to avoid further escalation and, in turn, a wider regional conflict. US Transport Secretary Pete Buttigieg says voters are concerned about former President Donald Trump's age and well-being as he's now facing a much younger opponent in the November election. In an interview with Fox News Sunday, Buttigieg argued that Americans are worried about Trump's mental acuity at the age of 78.
I'm pretty sure voters are worried about the age and acuity of President Trump compared to Kamala Harris, who represents being a generation younger.
He said Trump is, quote, older and stranger than he was when he began his political career, and accused Trump of, quote, rambling at recent rallies on the campaign trail.
And how could anybody not watch the stuff he's saying, the rambling on the trail, and not be just a little bit concerned?
Pete Buttigieg is considered to be a potential running mate for Kamala Harris. Iowa's law banning most abortions after 6 weeks goes into effect on Monday. Scott Carr has more.
The law is now scheduled to go into effect Monday following the denial of Planned Parenthood's request for a rehearing in court. The legislation, known as the Heartbeat Law, bans any abortion after cardiac activity is detected. It does contain exceptions for cases of rape, incest, or to save the life of the mother. Initially passed last year, the law has faced legal challenges but will now be enforced in Iowa. I'm Scott Carr.
Nigeria is tightening security at its borders ahead of a planned protest against hardship and bad governance by young people across the country. Tessa Makende reports.
The country's immigration service made the position in a statement. This is coming after police in the country raised the alarm that organizers of the protest are planning to bring in foreign mercenaries to join in the protest scheduled to commence on Thursday, August 1st. Spokesperson of Nigeria's immigration service, Kenneth Udo, said security personnel have been directed to step up surveillance and prevent such people from coming into the country during the period.
And that is the latest.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. Talk radio you control. 603-283-6160. I'd like to thank Tim for being an amplifier with us here at Free Talk Live. That means that Tim went to amps.freetalklive.com and signed up to support the show. AMPS stands for Advertise, Market, Promote, and Support. Thanks to Tim and everyone who supports us. Again, that's amps.freetalklive.com if you'd like to check out the perks and benefits of becoming an amplifier. So, I do have a story that I'd like to get into for the last bit of time we have here tonight. And it's...
Do the abortion one.
No.
Okay, all right.
No. It's been such a light night.
We should probably keep it light
keep it
tonight.
light.
We don't want to make it too heavy for the listeners on the last segment of the show, do we?
I mean, sometimes I do, but today sounds like a good light night. Okay.
All right.
So this
As
is
it
from,
should be. Sunday fun day.
Sunday fun day. This is from the LAilluminator.com. Customers who save on electric bills could be forced to pay utility company for lost profits.
What kind of nonsense is that?
I know, seriously. Why?
That's some BS.
Yeah.
It is.
Right from Jump Street.
You shouldn't be punished for saving money on electric bills.
Hey, government, we're not making enough money because they're not using electricity.
Mm-hmm.
Make them pay us anyway.
Make them pay us anyway. Louisiana Public Service Commission weighs bid for Energy Efficiency Administrator. Louisiana's major electric utilities are still pushing state regulators to allow them to charge customers for the costs of new statewide energy efficiency program and for the electricity customers will no longer need because of that program.
Just don't institute the program. If you want the money, just don't spend the money.
I mean, they can institute the program, but you can't just charge people because they're not using your service anymore.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But they're the electric company, right? So if they don't do a new energy efficiency program, people are going to have to use the same electricity at the old rate, and they'll make the same profits they used to.
Unless they get like some other company that's using this better service.
How many places do you know that allows multiple electric companies in the same geographic region? There's usually one.
There usually is one because of monopolies.
Yeah. Is this a government thing? Like the government said, now you have to, and they're like, well, it's going to cost us.
Oh, probably.
And we're not going to recoup it.
Probably because, they're push all these green energy initiatives, right, all the time. So that's sounds likely.
Sounds like their beef is with the state, not with their own customers.
I mean, but they all hold hands with each other, so they're just going to be like, they won't use our electricity anymore.
So make them use our electricity.
No, make them pay us for it anyway, and the government's going to be like, okay.
Well, we'll do your bidding. We just want you to stay in business, you know, because you make us all happy.
No, because
but
we're
they're
like
doing each other's
shareholders.
biddings.
Yeah.
True. You make a good point.
A large group that included Louisiana Public Service Commission staff, utility company executives, consumer advocates, and other energy experts met Wednesday to evaluate bids from companies that want to oversee Louisiana's new energy efficiency program.
They're mining too much Bitcoin.
With solar panels. Can you do that? How many solar panels would you need to mine a Bitcoin?
I don't know.
A lot.
I imagine now it requires a lot of power, so you have to have quite a bit of power.
Yeah. I have a Bitcoin friend, and at one point he's like, well, I'm like, should we get into the mining? Like, he's like, no, just buy one.
Yeah.
Right. It's, to get everything necessary to start mining, you don't recoup it unless you do it at a grandiose scale, which we're not going to do.
Right.
So let the miners mine, and then it's more efficient for you, more bang for your buck just to buy it.
I did see a thing which is just popped into my head because I just said something about solar panels, but I don't remember if it was an article or somebody just talking about it. Why do they not put solar panels over these gigantic parking lots?
They do in other countries.
Yeah, okay. Why do they not do it here? That's like so much real estate prime for solar panels for electricity generation.
Because we have property rights here?
Uh-huh. Well, I mean, why don't these businesses, listen, why don't you install solar panels and generate electricity and then sell it?
Because they would be infringing on the monopoly of the electric company.
That makes sense. Like, why would you want to infringe on the monopoly?
That's so terrible.
It is terrible. Like, I agree. People should be, or businesses should be using that prime parking lot space, or could be using that prime parking lot space to make solar energy and then sell it to the customers and sell it to people.
Instead, they put them in like fields where you could grow things.
Yeah.
Some fields it's useful. If that's the space you have.
I mean, fields, almost all fields could grow a thing.
Okay.
You know, if like the crop that used to be there is no longer viable because certain nutrients are leached from the ground, you could probably grow something else.
I'm going to go with property rights again. I'm sure the property owner went like, hey, am I going to make more money selling electricity or avocados?
Yeah, I'm
and they
sure.
Went, the electricity is probably going to be more profitable. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
The rights. It just makes so much sense to put them over these parking lots.
That's why they put them on the roof and not the front yard.
Mm-hmm. The LPS.
No one's going up there anyway.
That's right. The LPSC's new energy efficiency program will require certain statewide energy savings targets. Hitting those targets could require the administrator to implement things like appliance upgrades for large commercial buildings or smaller efforts like helping low-income customers insulate their homes. So they're enacting a new energy efficiency policy, which is going to cause businesses to have to buy new appliances.
Sounds like it.
This sounds like such a terrible idea all around for everyone.
The businesses, the electric companies getting screwed.
Mm-hmm.
The customers are getting screwed.
Uh-huh.
Other businesses are getting screwed.
Yep.
The state's like, we're green.
Yeah, we're green.
Louisiana green.
Uh-huh. The LPSC's new energy efficiency program. Oh, I read that one. Sorry. While the idea might seem like a straightforward solution to cut back on waste, utility company executives aren't very happy with it. So it is the state forcing this on them.
I also hate the idea of electrical waste, right? They make that argument with Bitcoin, like they're using up so much electricity.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's built into the price.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Like if you're offering me electricity at a certain price, I'm like, oh, that's reasonable. And I
Yeah.
pay it.
Right. Then what's the
Who-
problem?
Who cares? Like, why do you care so much about how I spend my money on electricity?
Oh, it's because they
Karen.
can only generate so much electricity, and if you're using a lot of it, then you
That's
risk
the pricing
blackouts.
mechanism. No, that's the pricing mechanism.
Yeah, I agree with Richie Rich.
I think that this is their argument, though. That
They're
you
dumb.
risk like blackouts and
Yeah.
such.
They're dumb. The reason you have blackouts is because they can't generate enough. Well, they can't generate enough because they're not charging enough to regulate the supply.
Right? Maybe they should.
You charge more, and then people
Make
go like,
more
wow, man,
electricity.
that's expensive. I don't want to use it. Maybe I don't run my air conditioner 24/7 in the summer,
Mhm.
right?
Well-
Maybe just when I'm home, if it's going to cost more.
Yeah, or they could like take some of the money that they make and invest back into their company and generate more electricity.
You could, yeah.
They could do that. In general, utility companies earn more profit when homes and businesses waste electricity.
No such thing.
Less
It's paid
wa-
for.
Less waste leads to lower electric bills, which could mean lower profit for the utilities. So that's why they're upset about it, because the customers will be paying. This is what they're saying, is the customers will be paying less. Entergy,
Oh, no.
Louisiana, and Cleco vehemently opposed the idea and successfully delayed its adoption for years. A consultant the commission hired to write the basic guidelines for the program spent 13 years and over $500,000 trying to appease utility companies with agreeable rules.
Yeah, just leave them alone.
Just leave them alone.
Right? If the state didn't get involved, then the utility companies wouldn't have to find a way to like screw their customers for using less electricity.
And if people want green energy, you can just get it now. Like there's all kinds of companies that will just come and install solar panels on your house and generate your electricity.
Put up a wind turbine if it's windy.
Yeah. I don't know if that's really the solution, but solar
Why not?
panels, because who wants a giant wind turbine in their yard?
I don't know, someone that can afford it.
They're huge.
Is it
and
cost effective?
They're huge, and I think very loud too.
Okay.
Right?
Well, then put it up on the hill where there's wind and then feed it down into the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Be the electric company for your neighborhood.
Be the electric company that you want to see in the world.
I agree with that. Like, if we could generate our own electricity, that'd be so much better than having a utility company provide it for us.
I mean, you can from the
Yeah.
sun. You can just get solar panels.
Yep.
And generate electricity from the sun, the thing that's always up there every day.
Yeah. I mean, generally, yes, but there are places where that's not always true.
Oh yeah, don't like Seattle. Don't live there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Pay the electric company.
Can't rain all the time.
Then use water.
Yeah.
They have
Again,
water.
sun, wind, water, just figure it out.
I feel like wind is the least friendly one, like just for
Because it kills birds.
No, because it's loud and like.
No, that's what I said. Put it somewhere else and just run the wire down to where you need it.
Mhm. And you can't really
Let it be loud elsewhere.
You can't really own your own wind turbine.
Okay.
You're renting an apartment in Seattle. You can't just like go erect one somewhere and be like, "This is mine. This one's mine."
All right.
For my house.
Oh, well, just wait till someone will do it.
Good. I hope they do.
They'll
Someone
be
writes
the
an
electric
article
company,
about it.
right? You'll just rent the electricity from the wind turbine provider.
Mhm. Well, I
Seattle
mean, they'd
doesn't
have to
sound
own
like-
the land.
Yeah. Seattle
Yeah.
doesn't sound like a place where, property rights are more recognized than like New Hampshire.
Yeah, well, New Hampshire also has plenty of rural land where you could erect a wind turbine.
Yeah. Seattle, not so much.
Yeah.
We do have a call. David in San Francisco.
Yeah, hi. I was kind of intrigued by the way this is being discussed, because in the last minute or two you're talking about the useful part about having options. But I'm out here in California, we had a problem with Enron about 20 years ago, where Enron figured out that if they could create a brownout, they could then jack up the prices. They would have like an auction of electricity, and they tricked the low-income people into getting a budget plan, which guaranteed that they were going to get the auction prices. And there were organizations down in San Diego, the University of California, probably. If it wasn't a state institution, it would have gone bankrupt in about 2 weeks, because the price of electricity under Enron went from about 8 cents a kilowatt hour to as high as $1,100 a kilowatt hour.
Whoa.
And
So-
I suspect the same thing is going on in Texas right now. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so do you think that if there were a competitor selling electricity to Californians instead of having this Enron monopoly, that those prices may have appeared more reasonable, especially if switching to the competitor when Enron was short on electricity and raising prices was easy to do?
Well, it's more complicated than that. They did what was called deregulating electricity. This was 1996. And they set it up in such a way that every power company would sell electricity to the grid, and then the grid would handle the auction. And then what happened
Doesn't
was
sound deregulated, but go on.
Right. Yeah. No, it was entirely corrupt, and I'm trying to remember the phrase for the supposed middleman in this was really corrupt as well. They were scamming. But what happened was Enron and some of the more corrupt power companies sold all of their spare parts. So all of a sudden, when something broke down, they would have to send away, and their power company would be down for 2 days or a week or whatever. And then all of a sudden, these price spikes would kick in. And the way they got caught was the Federal Electrical, FERC, I think it's Federal Electrical Regulation System. They were able to catch them because they were selling electricity across state lines. But what's going on in Texas right now, they set up a law in Texas that nobody in Texas can buy electricity across state lines. So there's no federal oversight. And now they've got heat spells, they've got cold spells, and the same auction price kind of thing kicks in. And especially for the poor who are on budget plans, they have no guarantee of having electricity in a brownout, but the big boys can buy 1 million kilowatts per month, and they'll get a bulk price for buying a million megawatts.
As you describe it, it still sounds like a government interference problem.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the deregulation was when the Republicans ran the legislature of California. This is 1996, and they built this entirely fraudulent deregulation thing, and it's even more complicated. Tricked a bunch of environmental organizations into agreeing to the plan, and then the night before the vote, they entirely changed the bill. So they got the endorsements, and then tricked the various environmental groups into thinking that they were supporting a good bill, but it was entirely corrupt. And so they used the legislature to perform a fraud. And it took, God almighty, I think they stole $71 billion in about a week and a half. Well, it was more than a week and a half, maybe a month and a half.
You still haven't convinced me that this is not a problem with government and government regulation, even if they guise it as deregulation.
Well, when you're
right, they interfered in market activity, don't allow other competitors to enter the market, to offer these people electricity at a more reasonable cost, or to produce it themselves somehow, or to get it from out of state. Right? You go, God, this is all deregulation. No, it's still government interference. There's no market there because the government doesn't allow it.
What you're describing sounds, mom and apple pie, but the reality is that if you were going to be one, for example, just some city, a town or a city, and if there were 5 different power companies, they would have to have 5 different sets of wires strung through town in order to serve their customers. So the grid is what's, everybody feeds into the grid, and then the auction, so to speak, the moderator of the grid is what handles the billing. And so the government obviously got involved in the development of it because they didn't want 5 sets of electric wires running.
What's wrong with 5 sets of wires? Who cares? If each company's paying the cost to put them all up, and they've got the property owner's permission to do so and to run it across property lines, who cares if there's 5 wires in a conduit?
Easier said than done.
No, easier done. You just get the government out of the way, and then people figure it out.
If what you're saying was true, they would have had that 100 years ago, 150.
They have it in other countries. Have you seen some of the electrical poles in I'm going to call them third world countries, but in Southeast Asia, right? There's a mess of wires up there, and people figure it out.
I've been in Egypt where they had a cemetery, and maybe 250 years ago, somebody with an expensive mausoleum hired a guard to be there night after night after night. And after a while, he set up a little shed to live in, and he invited his girlfriend or his wife to live there, and they've now got something like 1 million people living in this cemetery, and it's all strung together with extension cords.
All right.
And if you think that's a funny idea to have 5 sets of wires or 10 sets of wires, imagine what it's like when you've got cheap wires and that there's no standard to deal with, and that everybody's living in cardboard shacks or little wooden shacks in a cemetery.
Are you saying that's what a city in the United States would look like, as 5 electrical companies put their wires next to each other on a pole, or buried it in the ground so you don't even see it?
That's what deregulation does.
No, it does not.
It might.
It does.
But who cares? If that's what the property owners agreed to.
How about if you have a fire with no regulations?
You call the fire department and pay the fee that they charge you.
Where's your fire department?
I don't know. On the corner, wherever the property owner decides to open up a fire department.
There's a book that came out about San Francisco in the gold rush days. It came out about 10 or 15 years ago. Look for it. It's called Black Fire. And the name also includes Tom Sawyer, because Tom Sawyer was actually a fireman out here in San Francisco at that time. And Mark Twain was out here, and he knew Tom Sawyer. And it describes what it was like to have privatized fire departments. And they would show up at a fire, and if 2 different companies showed up at that fire, they might easily beat each other up out in the street and not put out the fire, because they would get the spoils of the house. And it was the only way the fire department got paid was by loot that they would get in the house, as opposed to the taxpayers helping a good fire system, whether it's the fire plugs or the pipes underground.
So you're saying if I had homeowners insurance that covered fire coverage, that covered fire, like the insurance company wouldn't hire firefighters to come out? And if there was another firefighter out there, like, no, dude, our jurisdiction, we've got the contract.
There's a lot of rich neighborhoods.
They wouldn't work that out?
There's a lot of rich neighborhoods that have tried that, and that's why they fall back on the city or the county's fire department, because what happens if the insurance company goes belly up? What happens when
another insurance company
when they buy cheap equipment? What happens when they don't pay their workers? I've been.
You go to their competitor in a deregulated market. That's what happens. Your business goes under. You find another supplier of the service. Because there's multiple out there because they're not granted a government monopoly. You got 5 wires, you got 5 fire departments. Pick one.
It's not a monopoly. It's a system that works. And the idea that you could have a cheap-ass fire company, I mean, there are so many examples of rich people thinking that they've got a good fire company that's going to help put out their fire, and it turns out that they don't pay their staff, or that they're lazy nobodies because they sit without putting out fires for 2-3 years, and then all of a sudden when they're needed, they laid them all off, or they're out getting drunk or whatever. Like I say, this book, Black Fire, came out just a few years ago. It describes why we don't have that system of deregulation.
Yeah, because the government gets involved, grants someone a monopoly, and doesn't let competitors enter the market. I don't care what the book says. That's why we have that system.
What you're saying is crap. Read the book Black Fire. It describes San Francisco. It describes what you're hoping for, and why it didn't work back then. And it's a pipe dream to think that you can have privatized fire departments, and then where are they going to hook up to get the fire hydrant? Is the fire hydrant going to be put on a meter?
No, you have 5 fire hydrants, one for each fire department.
Good luck with that, man. I tell you what, man.
Make it 10. 10 fire hydrants for all 10 fire departments, because they wouldn't figure it out amongst them.
I'm going to do an analogy with the Trump assassination attempt.
Good luck.
If you know the history of Donald Trump and the Secret Service, when he started running for office back in 2015, the Secret Service was going to, cover him. Well, the Secret Service started doing a check of Trump Towers, and they found so many organized crime people in that building that Donald Trump didn't want them anymore. He kicked them out of the building. They had to be in a station down on the street level instead of having an office in Trump Towers, because Trump had his building so filled with organized crime figures that he was afraid they were going to snitch on him. And the organized crime people didn't want the Secret Service in the building. So to this day, Donald Trump doesn't like Secret Service because they're monitoring him. And when you start looking at what happened in that assassination attempt, no wonder they were 40% short of Secret Service agents. He didn't want them. He had Blackwater people up there. He had his private security. He privatized security, and see how it resulted. No, Donald Trump is a cheapskate. He pretends to be a libertarian, or he pretends to be a market forces guy. In reality, he's a slumlord. He never pays anybody. The Blackwater people don't like showing up because they don't get paid. If he doesn't get
so
shot,
he doesn't pay for the service he ordered, and you're saying that that's a failure of the market?
Well, imagine a cheapskate, and then
I'd imagine a cheapskate's building is going to burn down if he doesn't pay for fire services. I'd imagine that if you don't want your building to burn down, you'd make sure that bill is paid on time. I'd imagine that the cost will be down if you could go to your competitor if your guy's a cheapskate and doesn't pay his people.
And what happens if the house next door is on a different fire company?
I would imagine that your fire department would show up and put their house out in order to protect yours.
Thanks for the call, David.
I'd imagine I've thought this through before, and I don't need to read a stupid book to figure it out.
It seems that way, that you have thought this through thoroughly. Thanks for joining us on Free Talk Live.
FreeTalkLive.com.
FreeTalkLive.com. Call in any night that we're on. Join the conversation. Say whatever you want, except for those 7 words.
Peace.
This hour of Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash Digital Cash. Dash is the cryptocurrency designed to be used for spending. Rising fees have made Bitcoin useless for purchases, but Dash continues to have fees less than 1 cent per transaction, and its features ensure Dash is undefeated as the most useful cryptocurrency in the marketplace. From a technical standpoint, Dash transactions are irreversible, and its network is protected from 51% attacks by their Chainlocks technology. There's no need to wait for a confirmation before considering a Dash transaction complete, so it's great for merchants.